What's up, Borough podcast fans? How the fuck is everyone doing today? Guys, we're brought to you this episode by AS Engineering Services. You can reach them at 631-560-0259 or online at www.asengineeringservices.com. We're also brought to you by Municipal Land Survey. Get them at 631-345-2658 for all your land surveying needs. And lastly, we are brought to you by Keto Fresh. You can follow them at Instagram, or not at Instagram, on Instagram at keto.fresh.ny. Guys, this episode we have Anthony Giacchina on. Anthony is an MMA fighter. He fights for Bellator currently, or he fought last for Bellator. He's in the process of getting another fight together. Doing a lot of training, and he is a funny fucking guy. Honestly, this was one of the funniest episodes, the most entertaining episodes that we've had. I'm not going to give away too much because it's just too good. So give it a listen. Hope you enjoy it. Alright, we're live. Let's get into it.
Borough podcast, D-Rock,
Yarbs,
Eric, and our guest,
Anthony Giacchina,
pro MMA fighter.
Yeah, buddy.
Just fought for Bellator at the Garden, and even though we just said this, I'm going to reiterate it: fight of the goddamn night, 100%.
Thank you.
100%. I think that even though I knew you, so I was excited and ready to watch, and like as the fight was going on, I was obviously more invested in it because I know you, but I was saying it even to him while it was happening. I was like, objectively, this is the most exciting fight I've seen. 100%, dude.
If anybody looks me up, they Google my name. I mean, that's the way I go in there. I go in there and bang. So it doesn't really matter who I'm fighting. You know, it's usually they usually put me against a hometown hero who's very good. You know, and I wind up giving them hell of a fight. I mean, you know, I don't win all of them, but I give it 100%, and I don't care. I don't care if I lose as long as I go in there and give it 100%, and I get that reaction. Fight of the night. You know, that's really all I care about. So,
man, like it was obviously Jerome was real good. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Like the fight was super competitive, but it had everything you could ask for, in my opinion, in an MMA fight. It had great technique, it showcased all the techniques of MMA, in my opinion. Like, that's the kind of fight you would show somebody who's not a fan of MMA a fight to get them involved in, because it had crisp striking, kickboxing, good wrestling, good jiu-jitsu. It had good drama. You know, you got knocked down twice and rallied. You know, like
yeah.
It had everything you could ask for about a fight. Like, some fights are entertaining because they're just slugfests, but they're sloppy.
Yeah.
You guys slugged it out, but we're still technical. It was still two guys who knew how to fight. And all, like, even the clinches on the cage were technical. Your takedowns were great. Your transitions on the ground. His takedown defense was good. His ability to get back up was good. I mean, everything that got showcased was everything you could possibly ask for. And that's why, in my opinion, I think it was definitely fight of the night over the Heather Hardy fight.
Yeah.
And it's like what you said. The only thing you guys were missing was blood.
A little bit of blood, and would have topped off the night. It would have been great.
With watching it, man, I knew instantly in that third round when you took him down. I knew, and I was curious if you knew. I knew it was over right then and there, because you saw. You probably couldn't see his face, but on TV, I saw the frustration on his face, and you saw him get frustrated that he was down again. And instead of that instant, I have to get up. It was like, ugh, I'm back here again. I was like, that's it. You know, and I know it's been a while since we've trained, but I remember we've trained together before, and I remember I was like, Anthony's good, and you've only gotten better. I'm like, you can't give you an inch, and he gave you that inch, and you took the mile after that and finished him.
Yeah.
Did you feel it?
You know, I had dreamed about it like over and over again, and I really thought the finish was going to come in first off that first takedown. And that's how I had dreamed about it. I was slipping the first punch underneath, getting the takedown, taking his back, and actually hitting a rear naked. So at that point in the fight, when I had taken him down again, I could feel that it got real easy to take him down. You know, it wasn't like he was weathered, you know, on the fence, and he was just like fuck, just like, whatever, take me down. So I had taken him down at that point. I knew, like, okay, from the takedown, the second that I got the lift, I said, the fight is mine. I knew I had won a decision at that point. But that's not the way I roll, so he gave me his back, and I fucking took his back. I knew I was taking his head off. So.
Yeah. It was cool to see that. I was like, you know, having trained with you once before and then seeing him, I'm like, that's it. I just knew it. I knew it. It was one of the rare times where you just know you're watching the end.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a fucking perfect way to end this fight.
Yeah. It was very climactic.
Yeah. I want to ask you about what it was like fighting at the Garden, even though I know it was your second time, but on the bigger stage. But I think before we get into that, I fuck this up all the time as doing the podcast. I jump into the questions I want to ask with, like, just in case there's people listening who don't know you. You're from New York, you're a local guy, so like give your background real quick.
So I was born in Long Island. I moved down to Florida when I was real young. Lived down there for like 13 years. Came back up to Long Island when I was 14. Started playing soccer for school. Played soccer all throughout high school, and I really thought I was going to be a professional soccer player. And then I tore my ACL in my senior season. Lost my scholarship, D1 scholarship to Liberty College, which would have been real nice. And then I didn't have the grades because I wasn't like a grade dude. I was like a sports guy. So
I think the term you're looking for is jock.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't give. I didn't care. I didn't apply myself. I was like a BC student. I just didn't apply myself at all. And then I wound up coming across MMA, and I fell in love with it. And from like 21 until now, I'm 31. And now I just stuck with that.
What got you into MMA?
Chuck Liddell, Randy Couture 2. That specific fight I watched, and that was my first like UFC experience. And I had kind of like backtracked from there. Once I seen it, I was like, oh, I gotta watch them all. And then everybody's like, oh, you gotta watch Horace Gracie and all that. So I wound up going back, and then I got into like Pride and all that stuff. But that was the fight that I was like, I can totally do this. Right. And at that point, I had no wrestling, no striking. I mean, I knew I could. I had a right hand, and I could bulldog people with a double leg, and that was it. And I was like, if I can do this, I can totally win fights.
Yeah. It's funny because we've been loosely connected socially for a long time.
Yeah.
And we started training probably about around the same time, and I never knew like how you actually ended up getting into it. My good friend Dave Sorensen.
Yeah.
Who you dated one of his best friend's sisters.
Yeah.
And apparently because I remember hearing when I first started training, like a year or two later, I don't remember exactly what the conversation was. Like, oh, this, Raquel's boyfriend does MMA, and I'm like, okay,
Yes.
And like they're like, oh, you met him, and I was like, oh. And I remember hearing about you, but I don't ever remember actually meeting you until like way later down the road.
Yeah, it was years later.
Yeah,
down the road.
A lot of years later, and then I didn't really know where you trained or anything like that. So, where did you start at?
I started out at Extreme Couture in Centereach when it was Extreme Couture.
When it first opened up.
So that was that was when it first opened up. I was there day one, and from that day I haven't left. Through that period, there was like 5 years that it had changed hands from Extreme Couture to American Fighter, and then it went to Jamie Varner's Combat Academy. And then from there, we left that spot, moved into St. James. We were there for a little bit, and then like the fire marshal wound up shutting us down, and there just wasn't enough money in the gym. So I took like maybe a year off. Then I got started back up at Windy Fitness Center, and that's when I wound up training with you and Steve. And then from there, so after we had trained, I'd done the Good Fight tournament. Wound up getting my arm broken in that tournament. First match against a Soka guy. Kid just fucking threw up an armbar, and I didn't defend it correctly. Shit was like, I was like, oh shit. And then I signed up at Maxim like the next day because Maxim was on fire at that tournament. And I signed up at Maxim the next day. Trained for a year. Got my blue belt within that year. Did the same tournament a year later. Went 8-1, 2 golds and a silver.
What year was this about?
That had to be 5 years ago, 2012-ish, okay. 2013.
So when did you start training, like 08-ish, around there?
I started training I guess 08 because
Okay.
I was 21. So whenever I was 21.
Yeah, that makes sense. That kind of fits
Yeah.
the foggy timeline I have in my head because I started in 2007, and I was living at Dave's house actually,
Which
back
is
in
right down the block
2007.
from where I live now.
Really?
Yeah, I live in Medford, and he's like fucking 2 streets over. Really?
So it means you live around the corner from me still because I
Probably.
live, dude. Dave Sorensen's house. I live a block over.
Okay. And then didn't his brother buy Rico's
house?
grandparents' house?
Yep, right across the street. Yeah. All right, so that fits my foggy timeline of all that back then. Yeah, because I remember like I was hearing of you, and everybody was telling me that I knew you, and I'm like, I don't fucking think I know this guy.
And it was funny because I met Vinny training too.
Vinny.
He's friends with Angel, and he trains. I forget his last name, but we still are in contact. He moved down to Florida. I forget his last name, but he was like kind of in that group too.
Like Dave's group?
Well, like he kind of knew everybody through like Raquel, because I think they would have barbecues and stuff, and they would come down.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You're not asking the best guy either, and I don't have the best fucking ask these guys. I'll tell you how shitty my memory
Well, I
is.
guess getting punched in the
Terrible.
head doesn't help either.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't. It definitely does not. But, so, I know you fought at the Garden once before.
Yeah.
But this was obviously like the big time. You know, what was it like?
It's kind of surreal. It's you watch these concerts or these other fights where the fighters are walking in the back and there's arrows on the floor and it's real like crazy, and it's exactly like that, and it's just like being around all these legends and then future legends, and then you're on the undercard and stuff. It's just you can't really explain the feeling of I've made it.
Right.
You know? And it's just like everything that I've ever wanted to do, or anyone that I know who's a professional athlete or a professional fighter in New York who's not a boxer has wanted to fight at the Garden, in the arena, 20,000 fans, under the lights, and it's like, you can't pay for. I couldn't pay for that experience. I really, really couldn't pay for it. So it was.
Well,
just,
you've been paying for it with all the training. I mean,
Well,
shit was earned, you know.
You wind up paying for it one way or another, but but yeah, it's just crazy to even try to put it into words. I think the only thing that's really gonna come close, there'll be 2 days. One, the day that I got married to my wife, and then the day that I have children. That'll probably be the other closest day to the best days of my life.
Yeah, I imagine it's gonna be hard to fucking compare
Top
to
that,
those.
yeah.
What did you? Oh. Eric shaking his head. Eric just had a second kid.
He's like, no.
I don't know. I think getting a good knockout is like way better than like the day you have your kid. I don't know. I love my kids.
Yeah.
I started not like the day that I had them though. It took like a year or so after they're done being like real little babies.
Yeah.
You're not the best guy to ask.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Well, I don't got no kids yet, and I don't got no knockouts yet, so we'll see.
I'll say the high from the knockout definitely like stuck around. High from a good knockout stuck around like a month or two. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I never had a knockout. Mine were submissions.
I usually just try to use my hands to set up my submissions anyway. I mean, I know my hands are pretty heavy, but I guess I'd like to blow a little smoke up my own butt and say the guys don't want to get hit. Once they kind of see me coming and they feel a little bit of it, they're like, all right, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But people have been in there ready to bang.
You and Jerome banged it out for sure.
Yeah.
You had I remember a couple of years ago. It was an amateur fight that you had a fucking war in too, man.
Alex Olave. He's actually fighting. He's coming up on a Lions fight at Foxwoods.
Mm-hmm.
He's
going to
be
Muay Thai,
fighting
or they're doing an MMA.
Muay Thai. He's gonna fight Muay Thai. He went over after that. He went over to Thailand, and he me and him are still buddies. We keep in touch. So he did some training over there. He had like 4 or 5 pro fights over there, maybe even 6. Then he came back over here. He did a main event against Elijah Clark for Friday Night Fights. which was a good fight too. I mean,
That kid's good, Elijah Clark.
he's a beast.
Yeah.
He's like 6'4". Like, I would not want to fight. I don't know how he made any type of weight either. Like, he's just super big. And
I didn't know he was that big.
he's huge.
I didn't know that.
He is huge. And the kid that I fought is a pretty big kid, but I mean 5'11", 5'10". You know, he's not.
Well, what weight are they fighting at?
They fought that one, I believe, at 65 or 55. But now this kid Alex, he's like got his diet on point. He went down to 45. When he fought me, he fought me at 55. But he was coming from like, I want to say he was coming from over 200, maybe like 250. He like
So
dieted
he was just
down.
like one of those giant, big frame dudes that lost it all and
Yeah.
probably giant
And he
bone structure.
probably hit me the hardest that I've ever been hit. Every time he hit me, it, like my bell was wrong, and I was like, "Fuck, I don't want to get hit anymore."
You're pretty big too, dude. I feel like you could make 170 almost too. Do you have a hard time making 55?
I have an extremely hard time. I need 10 weeks. Like, I've done it in 5 weeks, but it's horrible for my body. My first pro was at 170, and that was easy. I was 168. Like, it's not a problem to get into that 70
What do
range.
you walk around at?
Right now, I am 185, but I'm actually on the lighter side of what I usually walk around at. Usually I'm
pretty
like
stocky, dude.
You're a
192.
big dude. That,
Yeah. You don't have a lot of body fat on you either, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
You're like
it's-
a bigger
I'm
guy
just
with not.
thick, and you know, pasta kills me. I'm Italian and I like pasta, and I got pretty big legs from playing soccer for so many years. So I carry a lot of weight in my legs too, which a lot of people like don't realize because I look like I'm more upper body anyway. But yeah, the weight cuts are always rough, but I have my diet down pretty well. Even though I missed weight, there was a fucking bad story with that. So I'm like,
You missed weight for this fight?
I missed weight by 1.4 pounds. So there's a couple of factors, but none of the factors are really going to be the difference of making weight or not. I missed weight. You know, that's plain and simple. But I got there on Thursday. I was 165 pounds, right? Where I wanted to be to cut my 10 pounds and go. Cut the water, and I was out. So that night, Thursday night, I was going to go and cut 5 pounds, go to sleep, wake up in the morning. The weigh-in was anywhere between 9 and 11 o'clock you could weigh in. So I was going to wake up pretty early, cut the last 5 pounds, go and weigh in, call it a day. So Thursday night, I go to this gym. I'm sitting in the sauna, go to the steam, sitting in the sauna, go to the steam, and I'm in the city on 34th and 2nd, right? Or 38th and 2nd, somewhere in there. And there's these two guys that are following me around. It's like 7:30, and I'm going back and forth. Now it's 8:30, 2 more guys are following me around. Now it's 9:30.
Commission guys following you around?
No. Gym guys. Now I'm thinking to myself, like, you guys, this may be your routine, but I'm in here 2 hours now. You know, why are you guys in here for 2 hours?
Yeah.
Back and forth, back and forth. So then they finally, I guess, get the hint that I'm not playing. Then another guy comes in, black dude, and this is like 9:30 to maybe 10 o'clock, and I'm sitting in the steam room. I have 2 towels on me. I'm covered up, and I'm
Wait, hold
zoning
on.
out.
Was this a like fitness gym or a
This is
MMA gym?
Crunch Time Fitness Gym.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I'm in the steam room. This black dude's across from me. He's got 1 towel around his waist, 1 towel around his neck, but the one around his waist wasn't covering nothing. Steam comes on. This dude starts full on jerking off in the steam room.
Shut the fuck up.
Jesus Christ.
And I was like, I didn't have any energy to even say like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You know? So I was just like, ugh, and I got up and wound up leaving. So I was supposed to leave there at 160 pounds. I left at like 163. So then when I got up in the morning, I had 8 pounds to cut instead of 5 pounds to cut.
You had 2 pounds of emotional baggage. After
Oh
that,
my
too.
God,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ, you cannot see that.
Scarred for life. You know, and the worst part about it is I instantly felt like a chick. I was like, this dude didn't even want to know my name. he just wanted to, you know, bag and tag.
No dates.
No, nothing. He wasn't going to buy me dinner. He wasn't nothing. You know, it's kind of funny because I really felt violated. I was like, and he didn't even touch me, but I felt disgusting. I was like, oh, get this off me. So
I've heard that about a bunch of gyms in there.
it was weird. I had to look it up, and then there's a whole code. It's like a non-verbal code. Like you're not supposed to say anything. You can look it up on the internet, and like the way you wrap your towel, the way you go from the sauna to the shower to the steam room to
So you inadvertently like hit the cheat code?
every code. Everything that I did was telling these people that I was there to mingle.
You had like the blue towel.
Yeah. So there was a towel service there, so we all had the same towel.
You took your flip flops off in the steam room. You put them on the left side.
Yeah, dude. Some of the people, when I went back in the morning, there was guys who would just walk in there and they'd have just lotion or Vaseline, just put it next to them, and that's like another sign. Like,
So this is just like a subculture that exists.
yes,
Wait, hold on.
and they're like, don't tell us. We have to live our lives away. Let us play.
So they just go in there and jerk off?
Not always.
All right.
Sometimes it's like way more than that.
What the fuck?
I literally thought I was gonna get raped. I was like, he's got the craziest look in his eyes, and he was like, "Let's get it on."
This reminds me of. Did you watch any stand-up at all?
A little bit, but it depends.
Dave Chappelle's stand-up from
No, I don't
10
watch
years
Dave-
ago.
Dave Chappelle
He did a whole bit about how he got held hostage on the city bus. He's like, it wasn't what you guys think. It wasn't like a terrorist thing. It was just like a homeless dude jerking off. He's like going around the bus like...
You think if there was like a terrorist waving a gun or something, you would freeze up? Have another man whip out his dick on you and start jerking off. You're like,
I don't know how I react to that. Yeah.
And everybody's like, why didn't you say something? And
Well,
it's
the
like,
state you were in, you can't.
I was cutting weight.
When you're cutting weight, sometimes like I can't even say hello to my friends.
No.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even giving you a head nod.
Not only that, like physically, I felt like garbage.
You give the grunt.
But emotionally, I was not in a state of mind where I was going to be like, excuse me, sir, can you put that away? Because, I'm not really about that life. I was like, dude, I'm going to fuck you up. Like, don't come at me like that. That's how it was.
Holster that fucking thing, buddy.
I'm not trying to put my hands on you in this state.
Yeah.
Don't make me.
This is not the kind of grappling I was expecting tonight.
He's like, oh, we're going to get it on. Yeah, no. So,
That's fucking crazy.
well then, so now I'm like 3 pounds behind schedule. So then I go and I do the rest of my weight cut, and basically you only have until 11 o'clock. If you don't weigh in by 11 o'clock, you are...
we got
You looked it up?
the gay hanky codes.
It's like every spectrum.
The hanky code is a traditional form of signaling to others what your sexual preferences and interests are. Gay men use this code to communicate with each other in the nosy and distracting environment of gay bars. Although not as widely used these days, it's still a worthwhile resource and is among those who know a great conversation starter. So hold on.
Well, we have to ask, what color was the towel? This is important.
We all had white towels, so it was a towel service that was...
So the towel was not
Not the
did not
color.
denote that you were on their team.
No, it does. So this is color. This is a color-coded chart of what the color towel is and how it's worn.
You gotta let me
yeah,
know.
but how
'cause
it's worn, will tell you, like...
Whether or not they'll jerk off or...
I wound up looking up all the rules, too.
I felt uncomfortable at LA Fitness a few times, Dave. We both work out at LA Fitness. And
I don't think it's nearly as bad as going to the city.
I don't know. There's a lot, I'm sure it's not nearly as bad, but there's some creepers in there for sure that are
real-
naked a little bit too long.
without a doubt.
I want to make sure I don't.
Well, which LA
inadvertently-
Fitness do you work out at? The one by...
Patchogue.
Yeah,
Oh,
usually
the one in
Patchogue.
Patrick? So I would think that the one right on North Ocean, it would probably be a little worse because,
It's newer and cleaner, or
Well, no, because
No, the
it's right next to... Yeah, it's right next to the parking ride.
oh, I forgot about the parking ride.
A little flick of the lights in the parking lot.
You gotta brush up on there's something about Mary.
You know what? No, I know all about the parking ride. Occasionally, when I'm working in Manhattan, I'll have to pick somebody up on the way, and if you hit that place at like
Pick
5 in the
someone
morning.
up. Air quotes.
Dude, you know what's funny? And a teammate of mine, Brian Keller, is fighting on the UFC this weekend. Me, him, and another buddy of mine, we used to go out and go what we call gay hunting. So we would go to the parking ride, and we would all pretend like we were gay, and we'd just roll up to people and be like, yo, what's up? You here to party? And then they'd be like, yeah, come on, get in our car. And then we'd be like, you're fucking gay, bro. And then we just leave. I kind of convinced them that we're going to get shot by one of these guys one time. So we stopped doing it, but it was hilarious.
Maybe this was your karma.
Probably.
This was your payback.
Probably,
this was
yeah.
the universe getting you back at the worst time. Like,
Yeah.
remember all that gay hunting you used to do? Here you go,
Yeah.
faggot.
Yeah. Now you're the hunted.
Yeah. And they got you at your worst moment where you're like
Ah.
depleted and fucking mentally stressed.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
rough.
wow.
And they sent Debo.
He looked a lot like him, that's for sure.
All right, so so now you're fucking.
So now it's the next day. I'm like 3 pounds behind. I go and I cut as much weight as I can, because if you don't weigh in by 11 o'clock, then your fight's canceled. So at 10:30, I got out of the steam room. I put my clothes on. I'm running back to the hotel where we're all weighing in. I get there at like 10:59. I'm dripping sweat. I towel off and I tell them, hey, I have to get down. I have to get naked. Get the towel out. And they're like, oh, well, just step on a scale and we'll see what you're at. And I was like, no, I got to get naked. Just step on the scale. Just step on the scale. So I go around the corner. All the media's there. They start flashing pictures and they're like, all right, step on the scale. I go and step on the scale. New York State is one and done. There's no retry. I step on the scale with my underwear on, 157.4. Not to say that my underwear weighs 1.5 pounds, but there was a little sweat in it. And, I could have got a couple of ounces. It wouldn't have looked as bad.
You might have got 157.
A little Cormier, that would have been good. I could have made it, but so there was a couple of factors that definitely brought me over the
Why do
edge.
you think they have that one and done thing in New York?
Because New York is let's make it difficult for the people who fight in New York, who live in New York, who try to get back. Anything here is just difficult.
Unless you're Daniel Cormier.
Well, yeah, that's it. But I mean, like, look at taxes. We pay 7 times the amount of taxes that the rest of the United States pays.
We live in the most expensive county to live in the entire country.
Yes, it's crazy. People are like, oh, if you pay $3,000 in taxes, you're paying 10% of the highest taxes of the United States, and it's like, I have cheap taxes and I pay 61.
Yeah.
Mine are really cheap taxes. My uncle's paying 15,000.
I'm at over 12.
That's crazy. So they're gonna be like, all right, one and done, and if you don't make it, that's it. So they wound up fining me 20%, which thank you to Jerome, because he had the option of taking 20% of my win purse if I won. And he was a stand-up dude. He said, I'm not gonna take any food off your plate. I'll take what I'm taking, my 20% of the fight purse. He's like, if you win, it's yours. So,
Right on. That's cool.
yeah,
That was
it was
real
very
cool
cool
of
of
him.
him. Very cool of him, being that he could have, made an extra $600-700.
Yeah, I feel like most people probably would end up taking that too.
Yeah, just to prove a point. Like, hey, don't do this. But I mean, he's a fighter. He comes to fight every time, and he really. Let's be honest, 1.4 pounds doesn't make a difference, because when we were in the ring, I think I was probably about 12 pounds heavier than him.
It does, I feel like 1 to 3 pounds doesn't make that big of a deal. It's when you get past the 3 pounds and up, that's when you really start to make a difference. I definitely learned that the hardest way. I fought a dude who came in 8 or 9 pounds over, and I was just like, well, fuck it, we're fighting, because I was.
But you didn't make him cut? They didn't give you an option?
They didn't give me an option. This was back when.
This is real flaky times.
This was when Corleone's fucking commission was still running things on the platinum gloves.
Okay.
And after that fight, I told Nick, the promoter, I was like, if you have them again, I will never fight for you again. Because not only did he come in overweight, and they were like, they didn't say anything. I'm like, you're going to make him cut? Like, what's going on? He's like, no, he's fine. I'm like, how's he fine? I'm like, this guy asked for a catch weight of 160 pounds and still came in over.
Like 8 pounds over at the catch weight?
Yeah. And then Corleone was the ref of my fight and also botched my fight. He stopped my fight insanely
I think I remember that one. And you wound up taking the L on that one? Or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I shot for a takedown. He sprawled, ended up in half guard. He hit me twice. I stood up, faced him with my hands up.
This was in Smithtown, right?
Yeah. And then he just called the timeout.
Which, there's no timeout.
Right. I looked at him. I'm like, what are you doing? He looks around, and Eric informed me later that a outside official went like this. Corleone looked at him like that, and then just waved my fight off. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? So that was like a real bad taste in my mouth.
Corleone, back in the day, he's a real deal. I think he's gotten hit a few too many times, and
he's also not an MMA guy.
No, he's not. He's a boxer.
He's a boxer. So I kind of like, after I processed everything, I felt like, and even Eric mentioned it, like he looked like he wanted to give me a standing 8 count or something, and then realized
There's
this
no
is
standing
wrong
8,
sport.
yeah.
Wrong sport. And like,
Well, he's definitely like a detriment to himself and the other people around him now if he's operating in any capacity. I mean, he trains fighters, and like I feel real terrible because if you go into his gym and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're pretty good. Let's get you signed up for a fight," like you feel bad for the people. Like there needs to be a public service announcement. Like you need to almost like be like, "Listen, man, you probably need to go train somewhere else for a while before you jump in the ring or the cage with anyone."
that was my second bad experience with him. I did a super fight on one of his kickboxing cards years back. I show up and they had changed my opponent a bunch of times. I show up and I'm like looking at the promotional flyer thing. It has like the bout events, and I'm like, who the fuck am I fighting?
Yeah.
It's different than the guy I had been preparing for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I go up to him, I'm like, hey man, who am I fighting? He's like, who are you? I'm like, tell him my name. He goes, oh, hold on. Goes and gets my opponent and brings him over to me and goes, yeah, this is who you're fighting. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, this is not what I didn't like.
Who are you?
You know how awkward that is? Like,
Yeah.
literally, like, we're about to fight each other, and you're like, oh, hey, this is who you're fighting. Good luck. And I'm like, I looked at him, I'm like, dude, this is not what I was asking. I'm like, you changed my opponent. Like, you didn't even notify me, and now me and him are standing here having this conversation. Like, this is fucking weird.
But how long did he know that he was fighting you?
No fucking idea.
Yeah.
Because he literally was just like, hold on, and like took off, and then like had somebody else come over and try to explain things to me, and I was like, it doesn't matter.
That's always so weird, and it's always real sketchy.
Yeah, I was like, it doesn't matter. I'm here now. We're gonna fight.
One of the things that I really don't like, and it's hard to get away from, but it's like, if you train at a gym or you know these people, you shouldn't be able to work the event.
100%.
And I see that like a lot, and I'm not gonna name any names, but I just see it a lot, and it's just like,
I think we all know.
I don't wanna be, you know, oh yeah, I'm gonna fight so and so, but I know this guy is his cornerman, and yeah, that's, you know, one of many.
Yeah.
One of many.
There's a lot of guys who are in the game, who train with a lot of people, and yeah, I mean, to a degree, like, I don't necessarily fault the guy. You know, if you're a ref or a judge and they assign it to you, what do you know? There's only so much power you have, so I don't necessarily fault the person. I fault the people running it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not your fault that, you know, well, these guys are supposed to not train, you know, but someone has to have the foresight to be like,
well, not train. It's just, okay, if your guy is fighting, you're not that bout. You're not working. You're not judging. You're not reffing. You're not inspecting. You're not doing any of that. You're going on lunch right now. You know, like that. There's a kind of an easy way around it, but it's just so crazy. They'll have, you know, maybe 1 or 2 guys from the same gym working the event and have 6 guys, 4 guys fighting on the card. Yeah. And it's like, And then you start to look at what corner they're going to come out of, and they're all red corner. Why are they all red corner?
There's always an A and a B side.
Yeah, you know, like. And I know that because I'm usually, you know, blue corner, because I'm usually the one getting set up.
I like tell all the younger fighters and the guys that are like getting into it, I'm like, listen, man. They're like, some guys will go out and find their own fights. Oh, I'm going to go fight on this show. And I'm just like, listen, why don't you just wait a little while, and then we'll get you on one of the local cards here where we know the promoters. And, like, I'm friendly with a couple of the guys that run the shows. And I'm like, listen, we got a guy that's, like, pretty green. Yeah. He's going to sell a lot of tickets for you. You got to do the right thing. Yeah. And put him against somebody else that's green. It's got to be their first fight, not some NCAA wrestler with 100 Muay Thai fights in Thailand that you can't find anywhere on the internet.
That happened to one of our guys on a Julio show. Not that he got set up, but he wound up coming across a guy who was really experienced, and our guy was green, like no fights, but talented. The kid is super talented, Taekwondo kid, and he wound up going in there and banging out, and they wound up fighting to a draw. But the other kid had like 30 plus fights.
How the fuck does that happen?
Dude, I've seen it on the Glory card too. There was
Well, kickboxing, it's so easy to hide fights.
Oh, yeah.
Man. You get some guy that might look a little bit Thai, and you realize if anyone looks Thai, they got 100 fights.
yeah, at a minimum.
Yeah, they start
He's
fighting
from
at 6.
He looks Thai. He's from Canada and doesn't speak English.
Yeah.
Definitely has 100, maybe 200 fights.
I mean, you gotta admit that the Terrence fight was a little lopsided.
I didn't even get to see it.
Not the fight itself. The technical ability looked to be the same. But when a guy comes from China and he's got listed 14 KOs and Terrence only has 12 fights altogether, as a sanctioning body, I would take another look at that and be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
This guy had 25 wins, 14 of them were KOs.
I didn't even know that. And I know Terrence had to fight in 6 days.
6 days notice. Which could attest to, the outcome, because
And Terrence hasn't fought in 4 years. It's not
4
like,
years,
it's not like
he's
he's
not
like
in fight shape.
Yeah, it's not like he's like a
you know,
fighter. He's like a guy that's training people, working a full-time job,
Yeah.
out there doing some
Don't get me wrong,
sparring with
I mean,
guys here or there.
He got a good record, and he can throw, and he can fight. Still, I mean, that's
Yeah, but coming off of not being active for how many years, taking on 6 days notice at the Garden.
Yeah.
It's,
But I also understand, like, hey man, you can fight at MSG.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I know that feeling. So it's
I think I would have signed up for that on 6 days' notice. If I was like fighting
Absolutely.
a Bellator is 85ers, it's sort of weak division. I jump in there with at least like,
not anymore. They got Musashi.
yeah, now they got me. Fuck that, I don't want to fight him. Kendall Grove, I'll come after you. I've trained with him before.
Didn't he just get beat? He just
got rear naked choked by
John Salter.
Salter.
That guy's good.
Tough as nails.
Yeah. That guy, he's the one who, he had that crazy, I think it was me and you that worked that one Bellator event. It was a fucking crazy, oh no, that was the main event actually. The Brandon Gertz campus. Remember that? Me and you worked that one event.
Yeah.
When those two fucking banged it out
Tried to
in
kill
the
each other.
fight before. That was insane. Those guys had, I think that was their third fight. Every one of those fights were insane.
Dude, Bellator's super underrated right now.
It is, dude. In the next year, Bellator is going to be neck and neck with the UFC, I feel like, because they keep constantly
They have
acquiring
so many good. I think that's what that I read somewhere, like that's basically what they told Scott, like sign every
Everyone.
free agent.
and they're doing the right thing too. They're growing homegrown talent. They're
Yes.
by every new state they go and promote in, they get guys from the state,
Yeah.
get them on the undercards, bring them out, build them up.
Yeah.
Like they're doing the right thing, and having Michael Chandler still be there. He's a homegrown guy, and now he's gonna
Which
be the
was
face.
a kind of a crappy way to lose the belt, man.
Worst thing
Oh,
ever.
yeah.
Worst thing ever.
I like though that the New Yorkers, they sort of let that other dude that won have it. Like he put his hands up in the air and ran around like
Yeah.
he like accomplished something. But I mean, and then they booed him so loud you couldn't even hear a word he said in
Yeah.
his post-fight speech.
Right. Yeah. They were kind of ruthless. I mean, like, being that I fight, like, I know what it takes to get in there, and even if you don't have a solid performance, they were letting Phil Davis and Bader have it.
Yeah.
And these, like, when you're at that level and one mistake will change the whole fight, of course you're going to fight very, standoffish and not really throw everything you have, but it's not like they weren't fighting. I seen Bader in the elevator afterwards. He had a gash on his shin, like, that was probably 2-3 inches long, and he had cuts on his eyes. I mean, they were getting there banging, but they were like, boo, this fight
You know what though?
sucks.
That's what's gonna happen though when you make that fight. Like as soon as
Yeah.
I heard that fight, I'm like, does Bellator want to get like Dan's?
No,
like I
no.
know that those guys are like the two big names and the big dogs at like 205 pounds, but like that's just a matchup that you know is going to be so anticlimactic.
There's a reason they weren't on the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yep.
They attracted.
But then I almost feel like, and I don't want to talk bad about Bellator, but it was almost a smack in the face throwing Pico up there.
He just had a lot of hype, yeah. But 0-0.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's just crazy, like, I'm in this 10 years, and at least like Heather Hardy has got 20 pro
she's
boxing
tough she's
matches.
tough as fuck.
Okay, you can give her that spot. Plus, she sells a lot of tickets in New York.
She's a pretty girl.
Exactly. That alone is going to sell a lot of tickets.
super marketable.
Yeah. Pico, there is a bunch of people who don't really know who he was.
I didn't know who he was.
He comes from a niche. Wrestling is a niche crowd anyway.
Yeah,
I had no idea who he was that night, and the people that I was sitting with at the event were like, "Oh, Pico's coming up next."
Yeah.
I just came to see Pico, and I'm like, "Who is that?" And, oh, he's some phenomenal prospect.
Dude,
Never
the
did
funny
an
part
MMA
is-
fight, and then it was over.
The funny
30 seconds.
part is I competed against Zach Freeman in the World Masters last year. I lost to him in a round of 16 out of 55 guys. He went on to win the whole thing. So I knew,
He was legit.
dude, when he grabbed me, I was like, who's this kid? Like, he grabbed me and I was like, I can't move. Like, what's going on? And I was kind of like just pushing off, but I couldn't move. And then he armbarred me in probably 3 minutes. You know, he wound up subbing me and like 2 other guys, and I think he went to decision, but barely won. His semifinal match was real tight.
They
He won
talked
on
about
advantage.
that actually
Advantage.
on
But
the commentary. Talked about that.
I knew he was no joke, and I was like, oh, he's fighting him. And then I seen his record, and I was like, oh man, like, and this, you know, Pico's got a couple of amateur boxes, you know, like when he was a lot younger.
Golden Gloves. Like,
What I wonder about is if
His
he
wrestling
had no MMA fights, I think it would have been real easy to get a New Yorker that was like 1-0, or like a New Yorker that's like 2-0 or 2-1, or even a guy with an even or losing record.
The story,
just to take that fight, just to give him some highlight reel thing.
They said Pico didn't want that. That's the story behind it, is that Pico.
Because he's a delusional teenager.
Essentially, yes, because he's competed in the world. It's almost the same style of thinking of what we were saying on our off-air conversation about how there's some sanctioning people who go, oh well, they were wrestlers, and they let them fight without any amateur background. I feel like Bellator kind of had the same approach to this because he had international wrestling experience, and had been doing it for so long that he deserved.
Yeah, but doesn't mean he's not going to get punched in the face and choked the fuck out.
Well, we know that, right? Like, but so he had this hype and apparently requested to be thrown into the Shark Tank. He didn't want a gimme fight, a build-up fight. He wanted to go right into the deep end.
This kid is super young. He got pulled out of high school. He didn't even finish high school to do his Olympic wrestling. He did phenomenal in the Olympic wrestling, but all that stuff for these uber wrestlers who do NCAAs like Gregor, and that win and all this stuff, they did their high school wrestling, they did their collegiate wrestling, they're becoming world champions like this.
And they fought as adults. They've moved around as adults.
Yes. This kid plucked out. He did great, but my wrestling coach says it every time. If you go in for a job interview, there's no second place. Mm-hmm. If you get second place, that means you didn't get the job. Yep. He got second place at the Olympics. Olympic level wrestling, I get it. You still got second place. You didn't finish this. You didn't finish this. So what's your next meal ticket?
Even
Pro
still,
MMA. I want to make you a quick buck.
You think about it like this too, though. If you're going to be at that caliber, that is specialization. You do nothing but wrestle.
Yes.
And we've all seen that with MMA. Fighting is not that. Fighting, especially MMA, is not specialization. You cannot be look at these,
Not anymore.
Not anymore, no, but you can't just be a wrestler. You can't be just a jiu-jitsu guy. You could be a world champion jiu-jitsu guy. Doesn't mean you're going to be a good MMA fighter. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the...
Maya might change that, though.
Maya may change that.
He may change
but, still, though,
Maya might be my favorite fighter right now.
Even still, though, with him, he still had to learn how to kickbox. He had to learn how to kickbox enough to avoid it.
Yes.
So you can't just be one of those things. How many guys have we seen come in, with these specializations? There's certain things in every discipline that don't take with you into MMA. There's certain elements of jiu-jitsu that don't work in MMA. Mm-hmm. There's certain elements of wrestling that don't work in MMA. Yeah. There's certain elements of kickboxing and boxing that don't work in MMA. You cannot just be specialized like that. It's not an express pass to an MMA fight.
It sounds like he's probably around, or has been around, a whole bunch of yes men for the last 4 or 5 years.
You're gonna be great,
you're
kid.
gonna be the best.
Then it was he's training at AKA and he's sparring with Beast.
He's doing good in sparring against guys that are in the UFC, but it's like I know I do good against some people when I spar with them, but I know if I had to fight them, they would fucking kill me.
It's a
And
lot
vice
different
versa.
sparring in the gym.
It's huge.
It's
Huge.
Everything is different when the fucking lights are on.
And could you imagine having your first fight at Madison Square Garden?
Against a guy who's what, 10-2? 8-2. He was
8-2.
8-2, but I mean, like, if you look up the guys that he fought, they were no joke either.
Yeah.
I mean, this kid is really. They didn't give him enough credit, that's for sure. You know, and then he went out there and he showed them why they should.
That was a beautiful fucking guillotine.
I think
too.
it was
the
in the-
second he
I don't
locked
know-
that fucking thing up, I was like, that's a wrap.
I don't know if it was in the post-fight interview or when I Googled him the next day to like look him up. I saw like an interview. I think it might have been the after interview they did for Bellator after the fight. And he's like, listen, man, he's like, I got like a wife and a house, full-time job, part-time job, and a bunch of kids, and like MMA is something I do for fun. And the 2 losses I have were against guys that are in the UFC or something like that. He's like, you know what? I'm a tough old man. He's like, I'm not some scrub like they thought I was.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't know why they didn't figure that out, but he's like, I'm not someone that's been
Zach
training full
Freeman's
time.
cool. When he came out for the weigh-in, for the mock weigh-in, he came out and he's like, yeah, they didn't give me any cool video, but I'm going to shock the world tomorrow night. And he did, man. He really did.
Was it 15 seconds or 30 seconds or something like that?
24 seconds.
Yes, it was it was definitely under 30 seconds.
As soon as they went down to the ground, it was like a guillotine, and he had his like and he had his leg over to a darce.
It was a
No,
guillotine that
he
transitioned to a
didn't
darce.
No, he guillotined and he went high elbow.
High elbow.
Yeah, but I think he hit him with like a knee and then a massive uppercut after that.
And they both connected on each other. Yeah.
I just remember thinking once I think he wrapped his leg up on the guillotine on the ground. I remember thinking, like in jiu-jitsu, you've watched enough fights, you've done enough jiu-jitsu that if a guy doesn't move the correct way, as soon as like the submission's locked up, you're like, oh, this guy's done. I remember thinking, this guy's fucking done.
Yeah.
Look at he's not moving. He's not even like attempting to get out the correct way.
Well, I fought this kid Connor Barry, and it's like guillotine's probably my weakness, but because it's my weakness, I drill it the most, and I know how to move, where to move, or whatever. And he locked the high elbow up on me, and I was just like, fuck. I just went and was just like, I can't get out. Tap. That's just, I can only imagine what was going through his head. Like, no, don't do this. This is the garden.
Yeah. And not only that, like I understand that he's a competitor and he has big time competition experience, but it's still different, man. When
There's so
it's
many
your first
variables.
fight, you're not getting punched in your head in a wrestling match. Like it's a different nerves, it's a different acclimation. Like every time I fought, I was nervous. I
think that's one of the best reasons why it is absolutely a necessity to have an amateur career. At the amateur level, I think it's harder because the people who are coming to watch you are people who you personally know.
Yeah.
So then it's like,
beat up in front of your friends if you do.
my friend, and they're never gonna let you live it down. I remember that time that you got kicked in the head and you looked like you were doing the stanky leg. Shut up, man.
I'll never forget a kickboxing fight that I lost. A kid I worked with who we became friendly, I guess more of acquaintances or whatever. But he was like a party guy. He liked to party a lot, and he played Division I college football at one point. He was like a big lineman guy. But afterwards, he was just like a guy who always wanted to party and drink. He was like, come hang out. I'm like, nah, man, I can't tonight. Why? I'm training. I have a fight, so I definitely can't. And then I went out, I fought, I lost the fight. He's like, how'd you lose, bro? You trained all the time for that to go out there and fucking lose? And I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And he would always say it. And I'm just like, motherfucker.
They don't get it at all. Or, I love this one. Hey, you want to come out tonight? We're going out to get drinks and dinner. I can't. I'm on a diet, whatever. All right, man. Well, you better fucking win.
Yeah, because I'm fucking your night up. I'm not coming out to drink. Yeah.
Like, I guess I better win because I'm not going to fight another guy who's doing the same thing as me, training just as hard. I'm going to do my best.
I was in a wedding a couple years back. I was getting ready for a fight, and it was about 3.5 weeks out from the fight, maybe about a month, and so we're at the wedding, and I'm not drinking, I'm not eating dessert.
That's horrible. I wouldn't have gone. I would have sent a check. Here's my money.
It was pretty shitty. And one of the other guys in the wedding party who I just met, awesome dude, but he just kept like, come on, man, come on, just drink. No. He's like, when's the fight? You know, I'm like, it's in a month. That's in a fucking month. You'll be fine. I fight better when I'm drunk anyway. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Like, you just...
I bet you do.
Yeah, but there's nothing you can say because people just don't get it. So I finally, like, it kept going, like, for like a couple hours. I finally had to just be like, I pulled the guy aside. I was like, dude, I need you to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to drink. You're not going to peer pressure me. Like,
we're not like 12
yeah.
anymore.
I was like, just fucking leave it alone, dude. Like, tonight's not worth getting beat up in front of a bunch of people later on. And he was like, oh, okay. And finally left it alone. But it's just, if you don't do it, nobody will ever understand. It's nothing you can understand unless you do it.
My family still don't understand. My grandma still thinks that I go to the gym and play grab ass. It's like, I've fought twice at Madison Square Garden. The last time you went there, you paid for tickets to watch somebody else. I'm the event. You're paying tickets to watch. And you think I'm playing grab ass? She's like, what are you doing? You're playing. It's not playing anymore. But it just goes to show you, like, and she's close to me. People don't understand.
A lot of people look at it from the standpoint of like oh, you have a karate match coming. Like, they look at it like, oh, you have a sports game. Like, they know that their kids might have played football or baseball, and like, oh, there's a real big game coming up this weekend for my son.
My son's travel lacrosse team.
Yeah, my son's travel lacrosse team, and it's and even like professional athletes though. Like, you could be in the NHL, but you know you can get drunk during the season. Like, you can go out and have drinks at a wedding. But people don't understand like the level of commitment. Competitive cycling is probably like one of the only other sports where guys realistically like won't drink for 4 weeks or 6 or 8 weeks before an event.
It changes my cardio and like everything. It's
for days.
Nuts. Yeah,
for days.
I think they said it takes almost a month to get back to peak shape. They did a study with cyclists. And I guess they were testing like the VO2 of the blood in the cyclists, and they got a whole bunch of them wasted, and they saw how many weeks it took to get them back up, and it was something like 3 or 4 weeks to get back to where they were from not like one drink, from like this was like getting shit faced.
Yeah. Well, but still, it's one night.
Yeah, from one night of like getting tanked.
You know, crazy. And then you hear guys who are even in it who are like, it's just one night. I'm gonna party tonight, and then I'll be good, and I'll get back, to training.
I'm not gonna lie, I do have like, I started this when I got to my 30s. I never used to, but in my 30s now, I'll have a glass or two of scotch, like maybe like one night a week, literally up until like the week of the fight. Like sometimes Wednesday, yeah, it doesn't bother me. I don't know why. But
that's not getting shit-faced.
No, never get shit-faced. But like expensive, like high-end scotch, I feel like it makes me sleep better.
Well, probably because you aren't really drinking. You're kind of pure at that point, and you're in your 1 to 3 beer like sleep.
That's it. You get
if
that.
You're
good
out
sleep.
of that 3. You hit 4 and on, and it's party mode.
Oh, I don't go into party mode. Like, I'm talking like one small, like 2-3 fingers of scotch, and that's it. With like a nice cube.
It's funny because like when
beer though, if I have a beer, forget about it. I'm done for. I could train a day after having a glass of scotch. I'll go to the gym and train at 8 or 9 in the morning the next day.
Yeah.
But if I have one beer, forget about it. The whole next day's wash, for whatever reason.
I wonder. Well, like you think I listen to like my grandma, and she's like, "Oh, just give the baby a little bit of scotch, put it right to sleep." Like a little alcohol, put it right to sleep.
Just wet your lips.
It's exactly what you're doing. You're like, all right, I'm out.
You feel like it helps with like pre-fight anxiety though too, right?
Yeah, like I don't. It's
so
weird.
You fight drunk.
I don't get like nervous before fights. Like you would consider like typical anxiety, but my body gets like an overall. I don't know if you get it too, like a stiffness. Like the week of the fight, like I'll like fall asleep like laying on my back, and I'll like legitimately like wake up in the same position, like as if I was like a mummy all night while I was asleep.
Because I know for me, I get to that point like 2 weeks after the fight. Every night I go to bed, I'm like playing the fight.
Oh no, I never think about that shit at all.
The night before, like after weigh-ins that night, I can never sleep. But usually I'll only get super stiff, and my body will kind of be like if I'm dehydrated. But being that I have to cut so much weight, and these last couple of fights were at 155, I have to drink like 1.5 gallons of water every day. So I'm kind of pretty, the only thing that's waking up stiff is my Johnson. I gotta take a mean piss.
worst pisses.
Oh, it's horrible.
Trying to
it's
aim
like,
it, you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Ricochet it off the wall and just hope it goes in.
Or you just gotta get the paper towels out sometimes. Your wife gets pissed. The fuck's all over the wall, Eric?
You don't get it. You've never had to handle this before.
I'm lucky because we only have the one bath mat. We don't have the one that goes underneath the toilet. So, like, I'll hear it if it goes on the floor now. But before, it'll just get soaked up.
Yeah, but think about this. Like, this is what no one will understand. When you first wake up, it's like you're pissing out of one eye. Like,
I always hit the
holding
rim
yourself
and it
up,
sprays
like,
and it hits me in the shins
like-
and I'm like, ah.
Or you do that awkward, like, two-hand post.
Yeah,
like,
you
just pop
get vertical.
yeah.
I'll be like one hand here, one hand on like the wall, like this, like still trying to piss with a fucking rock hard dick. I'm like, what am I doing?
You have like another foot. You have like another foot to aim because you're like a 6'7". Your dick's up like at fucking at like chest height for everybody.
He just pulls the top off the tank.
He just
and
pisses
dips
in
it
the shower.
Yeah.
He just pulls the curtain aside and pisses in the shower.
Are you a sink pisser, Yarborough?
It's much higher. It's much higher.
Yeah, but I don't really get the stiffness, and I don't really the bigger the venue, because the 2 times that I fought at the Garden were much less nerve wracking than when I fought in like Massachusetts. Much less.
Do you feel like just because you know what to expect and you know that everything's going to be professionally handled, or
I don't even think it's that. It's more of a mental thing with me where I'm like, there's no turning back, and you're not going to be able to change the outcome. So just go in there and give it everything you got. And I always show up and perform. Where on the other side, when I was in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, I was like, I have to win. I need to do this. It's a small crowd. They're all here for the other guy. I need to try really hard, and then you wind up trying so hard that you make 27 mistakes, and they capitalize on
yourself. Yeah.
So I think that's probably more.
You get yourself tired quicker with that too.
That's the one thing that I haven't had, thank God, any issues with was cardio. Even with being like nervous or anything, but cardio was never an issue because I'm a one-track mind, and I really, plus when you're cutting so much weight, I'm on the treadmill, I'm on the bike, I'm on the row machine, hour and a half, 2 hours every day, pushing as hard as I can, with the sauna suits on and the sweatsuits and stuff. If I'm taking stuff off, I'm like, oh man, I could do this forever. So the cardio has never been an issue, and I think that's one of the reasons why in the Mickle fight I could absorb some of those big shots and bounce right back.
Bounce back quicker when you cardio's up. Yeah, for sure. Something I was gonna say before when we talked about like how your friends and shit don't get it. That I've talked about this before, but it's my biggest pet peeve is like the shit talkers from people that are just fight fans that have never fought. Like recently, you guys know the guy Tim Hague. He was in the UFC, and then he went and boxed, and his last boxing event, he got KO'd pretty badly and died afterwards.
Okay, I heard about that, yeah.
There was that fight up in Canada,
Yeah.
in Edmonton, if I'm not mistaken.
But he shouldn't have been, there was like something...
He had been knocked out like
4 times in a row before
yeah, and then
that.
the one before that was pretty recent where like he should have been suspended. Got in there, fought.
Isn't like striking like that illegal in Canada or something? There's something, or is it just when it's like kickboxing or something?
I think in one of the provinces it is, but not
They're
in
outlawing
Edmonton.
BJJ actually in Toronto. But I think that just happened. But this fight was before that. But
we'll
anyway,
get into that later. I want to know about that.
I gotta read more about it. I just saw an article about it recently. But anyway, he died as a result of the brain injuries after the fight, and I was on the guy who he fought, this guy Adam Braidwood. The things that people wrote to this guy were just horrible. Like, on his page calling him a murderer, like all this horrible shit. And then like I've seen other people too, like after losses, the shit that people write to fighters after their losses on their Instagram page, and it drives me crazy. I'm just like,
I have a guy who heckles me to this day from a loss that I had taken where I got choked, and he calls me McChokeout. Oh, Anthony is never gonna mount anything. he'll tap out before he even gets in the ring.
Is he somebody you know, or
no? And this kid said that he'll come down to the gym and like fight me or spar me or whatever.
he's from the island?
I have no idea where he's from, and it's like I'm not going to take your word on it because you won't even put up an Instagram page with your own face on it and your own
So he's
name.
somebody you know that's just fucking trolling you.
Trying to troll me
yeah.
or something, and it's just like, and he goes to my boxing coach, and he goes to a couple of other of my friends, and like said stuff about my wife and stuff.
What?
Yeah, I mean,
what's his
like,
Instagram handle? Let's fucking send everybody after him.
every time he winds up hitting me up, I just block him. So I know it's him because he'll do like 3 comments in a row, and like it'll be like tap out, Mick choke out, like something something stupid. Yeah.
Is it under a different handle every time?
Every time because I wind up.
Next time it happens, DM it to me, and then we'll put it out on the podcast Instagram and have people like attack him.
So, because he winds up like he's just a corny guy, like, oh, this kid fucking chokes out every time, and it's like, you've seen me lose one fight, like.
It's got to be someone that you beat at some point. They're like real bitter about
Someone
it.
who's
Like
got their panties
somebody
in the
real
mouth.
early. Maybe you beat them in jiu-jitsu. Like MMA guys aren't usually like that.
Yeah, because I feel like MMA guys know, like,
Yeah. If anything, you have more respect for the person.
without a doubt. I always have more respect for anybody who's willing to get in there and punch me in the face.
Yeah.
Like, I'll shake your hand after that because it takes a lot of guts to do that. And a lot of people just don't have that nowadays.
even if it's just one fight, like you get some of these guys that are like, I'm just doing one fight. I respect you for doing one fight and then deciding it's not for you.
Yeah. At least you still
respect
found
that.
out. You still nutted up and went in there and did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it drives me crazy, people that
Most
don't
people,
understand it and have the balls to talk shit to professional fighters. They'll call them pussies. Or like, I've even gotten into it with people who do jiu-jitsu who say things, I'm like, bro, just because you do jiu-jitsu doesn't make you a fighter either. Like, it's not the same. I understand maybe you understand it more than the average person, but like, for you to call out a professional athlete, especially professional athletes at the highest level, and be like, what a pussy or what a coward, or it's like, what, are you fucking serious, bro?
Yeah.
Like, shut the fuck up. You know what it takes to perform under those pressures at that level? Get the fuck out of here, dude. You call someone a coward?
Most of those people wouldn't stand up in their own job and read, a speech that they had made.
Yeah.
Let alone go out there and say, hey, you know what? I really think I'm good at this, and I'm going to prove it to these 20,000 fans that are here tonight, plus the millions of people who are watching on television.
It's funny that you bring that up because I read a while ago that there was a statistic of the 1 and 2 fears. Number 1 was public speaking, and number 2 was death. It's just like George Carlin made a joke about it. It's like, so if you're at a funeral, whoever's giving the eulogy would rather be in the coffin.
I like that.
You know what's crazy, though? I used to be super afraid of dying. My biggest fear really was just not being able to tell everyone who I wanted to tell goodbye. That was really what I was afraid of. Jiu-jitsu has cured me of that fear because I've been put to sleep a few times and you have no idea that you're out.
Nope.
So I was in La La Land and I was like, this is probably a lot very close to what it's going to feel like. So I'm good.
The lights just go out, yeah.
Man, I was getting choked out one time and I went from defending the choke to eating ice cream and I was doing something else. I was just like, oh man, I wonder when I'm going to go out. This is crazy. It was nuts. And then you wake up trembling and you're like, all right, I'm back.
You got that like those cool little like vibes going through
Yeah.
the pins and needly feeling.
Super relaxed though when you wake up. Like, I wake up like, oh.
Yeah.
I felt like I was
relaxed.
stoned.
Yeah.
Are you okay? I'm great. I just had a 5-hour nap.
Yeah,
What's
like,
up?
what do you mean, am I okay?
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah, so that's kind of one of the things that jiu-jitsu is bring me to realize that isn't that bad. So public speaking is definitely number 1.
That's why we do this in this secluded little area.
Yeah.
That's why there's
Everybody,
no
everybody can listen
studio
after.
audience.
Yeah. There's a reason why there's no cameras either. Too ugly for TV.
I'd done Sports on the Go. That was pretty cool. It wasn't that bad.
We did it too. Me and Eric did it. Yeah. They got a nice little setup over there, actually.
Yeah, they do. They do. Cool guys. Errol and Kyle.
I like Kyle
I
a
like
lot.
Kyle. Yeah, Kyle's real cool.
Yeah.
I actually went to high school with Errol. We didn't really run in the same crowd though. But I went to Patrick Knife. It's a huge fucking school, so like,
Yeah.
so many people. But yeah, when we got there, I was like, oh shit, yeah, we do know each other. That was like a strange realization. I was like, if you would have asked me like 15 years later, we're sitting down doing a podcast with a guy I went to high school with, I never would have thought about that.
I'm not going to hang out with you.
Yeah.
You're not cool.
But I like Kyle a lot. Kyle's a cool cat. We had him on the podcast. He came and hung out. He was very cool. I did couple interviews with him too, like when he was covering the fights and stuff like that. So I get a pretty good rapport with Kyle. And their setup is pretty cool, actually, though. They have all the cameras and
have a nice setup. This is pretty official.
What was the conversation like there? Because we're more like shoot the shit kind of thing. They have like a little bit of a format. We don't have any type of format,
They asked a couple of questions. We went back and forth.
Did they ask you what's the silliest thing about yourself? They had like all these like real silly questions
No.
that they asked me, and I like gave them sort of condescending like answers, and I'm like thinking that maybe maybe they'll give this shit up moving forward. So I might have succeeded.
No, they didn't ask me that. They just asked me normal stuff, how I got started, what I did, prior, what I do for work. They asked me to tell a silly story. I told a story about the weight cut.
Damn it! I was giving you my next question. I was like, did you talk about the guy jerking off in the sauna, or
did
we break the ice on that?
No, I did talk about the guy because I think that is life changing for me.
Which was more life changing
for other people?
Which is more life changing? Getting over your fear of death or getting choked out, or seeing a man jerk off in a sauna?
Seeing a man jerk off in the sauna. I've never.
You're definitely going to remember that until the day you die.
Yeah, well, without a doubt. So I've had 2 of these types of experience. That was being one of them. The other one, I was real young and I was walking home. It was probably like 2 o'clock in the morning, and someone pulled over and asked me if he could pay me $200 to suck my dick. That was pretty crazy too.
Where did you grow up?
In Selden.
How old were you?
I was like 16, 15. It was nuts, dude. And it just like that was like, all right, I know I'm not gay, so this is like weird. This one that I just went through gave me a better respect for women. As weird as it sounds, like
you're like, this is what they go through.
It was a very
piece of meat?
It was like, yeah, like I don't think I'll ever. Not that I go around like whistling at girls or anything like that, but it's like when they say it makes me feel a certain way, and you're like, shut up, no it doesn't. I get it. It probably does. But
I don't know that many women that have been jerked off in front of like that, though. You're
that's
probably
true.
unique in that. Like, they might get catcalled and whistled. I don't know that guys make a habit of like, hey, sweetheart, and just start beating it. Like,
I think that is a little bit of a difference, but I mean, there's still a correlation there where it's
the same awkwardness.
I'm just a piece of meat. Like all he wants to do is jump my bones. You're
like weirdly good at that voice.
Well, he had some practice on sports on the go.
Yeah, but so I think it's. I don't know. I have a new respect for women with the second one.
Yeah, getting catcalled, I would imagine would get old real fast. But you definitely got.
Yeah, there's levels to that.
Next
there's
level.
levels.
You might be a couple of levels above that.
But I can't say that, in my younger years when I was wild and crazy, that I didn't, when in doubt, whip it out. So, any ladies out there listening right now that I ever did that to, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's like every time you'll tell the story, it's like you circle back to how it's like almost karma.
Oh, always. I must have had this coming. Thank you, Jesus, for giving it to me now.
Well, luckily you got out before he came. So.
Oh yeah. I think that moves rape up on my fear list.
So, what are you afraid of? Being jerked off in front of?
Public speaking and being raped. So yeah, and if you look at a guy like myself, you would be like, "Oh, you're never gonna get raped." But I really felt like I could have been.
Like if there were like 6 of that guy.
Oh, I would have. Every hole would have been opened up. I'd have been like, "Let's just get this over with. I can't fight you all."
More men are actually raped than women, and it's funny because I was listening. I'm a big fan of the Rogan podcast. They're talking about it, and there's like some like pro men dude,
group,
and he was like, more men get raped than anybody else. And
by
he was like, by other men, you asshole. Like, you're not really helping the cause right now. Like, you're not making men look any better. Like, most men do get raped by other fucking men. So yeah,
I wonder how many women are convicted of raping other women. Probably zero.
Yeah.
There's 0 cases of that per year.
Yeah.
Zero. Alright.
Somebody else come up with it. Be like,
No, there's a lot. Happens in jail all the time.
I just feel like men are more simplistic sexually. Like, to rape another woman, I don't know, like, it doesn't...
You're not really getting the same satisfaction.
Yeah, like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
That's why women aren't driven to rape like men are, I feel like. It's not like that kind of a thing. Men are driven...
Well, I'm sure...
women are driven by passion.
Right.
Men are just driven
dominance
by instinct.
and like it's not the same drives. I can't
I think
imagine
that's one of the biggest reasons why society as a whole will say, "Oh yeah, that guy cheated," but when the girl does it, she's a slut.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You know, that's why it's seen that way.
That all goes back to basic biology. Man, I actually read this book a couple years ago that was a real eye-opening on it. It made me change the way I viewed like social structures, like with dating and sex and things like that, because this book called "It's Not You, It's Biology," and it talks about how women, like even back in like like the caveman days, women are attracted to certain things and traits for strength and providers and things like that, and their whole thing was womb protection. You can't be a slut, because if you get knocked up by every guy you're attracted to, you're fucked for 9 months. It's hard for them to care for themselves, and not only that, you might take a lesser man's genetics.
Yeah.
So that was like a big thing
back then. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So that's why like that whole thing has carried into the modern world, where it doesn't like...
But it's crazy that you say that, because those women, I feel like, no longer exist. Because now women almost search for people who are less likely to cheat on them, so they are less genetically attracted. Yes. They might be really smart and can make a lot of money, but they look like genetic trash.
Well, because society, like our biology has not caught up to our modern society and technology, right?
Yeah.
Like, so things that women are attracted to are like status, power, and earning potential and protection are no longer physical things.
Yes.
They're economic things. So that's why you could be some big fat fatty loser with a big ass bank account and you're banging tens.
Yeah.
Like it hasn't leveled the playing field yet. And it's like, it's what it is now. Like I was just having this conversation not so long ago about women that date, like, for lack of a better word here, beta males. It's like, you're attracted to this dude? Like,
yeah.
This guy's like a dick tucker. Like,
yeah.
What is this guy doing for you? Like, why are you, like, how does this work? I don't get it.
You know what I chalk it up to? I'm like, of course you wouldn't like me. I'm not ugly. And I just leave it at that and I walk away.
Yeah,
No, you're a dick. He's sensitive.
He's a pussy.
No, you know what it is? He's going to roll over and take your shit.
Yeah.
He'll be controlled.
I'm not going to tuck my dick and roll over.
Some people want to wear the pants. And if you're a woman that wants to wear the pants, you're probably not going to date any of us.
No, you're definitely not. That was one of the deciding things with me and my ex-girlfriend. It's literally, when we were breaking up, one of the conversations me and her had, she was yelling at me, and she was saying, like, you always have to be the alpha male, and this and that, and da-da-da. And I was like, well, if you don't like that, go date some dick tucker who's going to roll over and take your shit.
If you don't like that, change the oil and mow the lawn.
Yeah, like, you're mad because I pissed standing up. I can't help you. It's not going to change.
I think they have an invention that allows women to do that now.
Yeah, the shiwi.
Yep.
The shiwi.
That's what it's called. I swear to God.
I know about this because I heard about it.
The shiwi.
It's basically a funnel for your vagina.
Yeah. To follow.
You definitely didn't talk about this on Sports One on the Go.
No.
All right, we've cracked a new frontier.
Yeah. Nope. The shiwi.
Well, I'm not looking that one up, guys, because the FBI is already like, what the fuck is this guy into tonight?
You don't really need, that doesn't need to be looked up. Everybody gets it.
Yeah.
I don't even know where. I don't know where to segue from that. What are we talking about now? Where do we go from here? I mean, what do you got next? What's next for you, dude?
So next on my schedule, Shiwi's coming up next. No, but
new
next
sponsor.
Hey, Shiwi, if you're out there, you can send me a couple. I got a couple of lady friends that I know can get hooked up.
That would be fucking unreal.
We'll give them out to our female podcast guests.
Yeah.
I'll put it on my shorts for the next fight. We'll even try them out. We'll show them how the
But you got to put it right over the cup so it stretches nice. Like
That's where we're gonna put the logo right in the front,
right over that cup bulge, and it's got to be fucking.
That's the money spot. That's the money spot, though. But yeah. But coming up next, I got the World's Masters in Las Vegas, so I'll be out there, and then I compete.
Is that gi or no gi?
It's gi.
It's gi.
It's gi, and it's actually like super competitive. So if you guys are ever like thinking about, I'm not going to go Masters division, it's harder than the adult division.
I've heard that before.
Yeah, I had 55 guys in my last Masters, and I mean, just tough as nails, dude. And like I said, Zach Freeman was one of the guys.
Yeah.
And pro athletes. I'm a pro athlete, so it's not like you're getting, I'm getting an old man off the couch.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting guys who are good, who are strong.
You're getting a TRT guy that's been doing this for 20 years.
That is definitely one of the things that that I kind of don't like about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You definitely get a couple of those guys who are TRT in and, you know, HGH or whatever they, that they're getting prescribed. Some of them have grips like no other, but it's definitely good. So I'll be out there August, I think it's 23rd through the 27th. It's a 4-day event or something. But I'll be out there for the Mayweather fight too, so it'll be pretty crazy.
badass.
So hopefully I'll run into some, maybe Connor, maybe Dylan, see all them guys.
Nice.
That'd
It'd
be
be
cool.
interesting if you got to fight down in Bellator. Huh?
He fights 170, and he's a big dude.
Is he?
He's really big. So I'd rather not fight him. Not because I couldn't handle him, just because I don't want to fight people who are over 6 foot. Like that's why I don't fight.
He was that
170.
big.
He's tall. He was supposed to fight AJ Agzarm, and he came in like 10 pounds over for
the Polaris or whatever.
yeah, I think it was a Polaris, and he was like 10 pounds over.
I didn't know he was that big.
He's a big dude.
Yeah, fuck fighting big fucking lank tall motherfuckers. I'm done with that shit too.
That's what everybody asks me. Oh, why do you fight 55? Why do you cut so much weight? And it's like, if they had height, weight classes, then I'd be good.
Yeah.
But
that was one of the things that fucking pissed me off about the fight that I mentioned. The kid came in over the fight before that. I took a bunch of my opponents had washed out, so I took a fight at 170 with a fucking kid who was Eric's size.
Nah.
And I was just like, I'm done with this. And then, 2 fights before that, I fought a kid at 185 pounds in kickboxing who was like 6'4" also. And I'm like, what am I doing?
I fought at 85, 75, 70, 65. The only guy that I fought who was my height was Gary Bellator, who I fought at 170, and he doesn't really like to cut weight. He's really a 55er, but he doesn't like to cut weight, so he fights at 70. He's a good dude. I think he's actually fighting coming up on CES. So on their show, he made it to the TV portion of their show. He's 3-1 right now, and that 1L is your boy. But I was brought in to be a fish. They really thought that they gave me 3 weeks notice. I made 170, and I think they seen my record on MMA.tv because they didn't know that I had all this other experience because of the way everything was in New York here. And
was that your first pro fight?
That was my first pro fight, and I wound up beating him unanimous decision. Had scores were 30-27, 30-27, 30-25. So I mean,
that's legit.
And he told me afterwards, another stand-up guy. That's what I really like about the fighting aspect is like you meet these really cool people from all over. And he told me afterwards, he's like, there was a point in there where I wasn't fighting anymore, and I was just like, I can't get finished. To his credit, he did a good job because he didn't get finished. But it's really hard to finish a person who's not really trying to fight you. They're just not trying to
survive.
Sometimes you'll just grab guys and you'll just realize, I can outposition this person very, very easily, and I can do this. I can just do this for the rest of the fight and win.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'll be able to finish. My last fight, I fought a guy that within the first round, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to finish him. I hit him in the head, had him in mount, punched him in the head 7 or 8 times. The bell rang. I'm like, this guy's not going to get up.
Yeah.
This motherfucker jumped up like nothing had happened. He just woke up in the morning and he's like, let's go get some coffee. And I'm like, the fuck? I just smashed this guy's head as hard as I could. Didn't block any of them. I was winging my arm like a goddamn sledgehammer. And guy pops back up. He's like, next round storm, runs to his corner, doesn't sit down. I'm just like, fuck.
It's almost like demoralizing. Like, oh man,
Super
it's gonna be a
demoralizing.
long night. I had Gary in the first round in a full blown armbar, and I had pictures of bending it over my hip, like bad. And he didn't tap, and I was like, that was my best attempt. No. But I'm glad that I, kind of have a short-term memory when I get in there, and, by the next round, that was all gone, and I was back on, like, all right, kill, maim, crush, go, forward, smash. So, but yeah, that's next. And then hopefully, we're trying to get back in contact with Bellator to do Mohegan Sun in October. So that'll be the next one. But if not Mohegan Sun, we got a couple other things. I always know Ring of Combat's got something in September. And then we have CFFC in October. So there's fights all over. I also have a good connection with Cage Titans and CES. So
What's Cage Titans?
Cage Titans is a smaller promotion, but they're up in Massachusetts. They fight at Plymouth, Mass. If you've ever been to Plymouth, it is an awesome little town. It's like kind of like Port Jeff. It's really cool though up there. They got a nice venue. It's a smaller cage, but it's a good spot.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So all 155 from now on too.
As long as I can work on this diet. So right now I'm in the process of getting my weight to walk around at 175.
You think about losing some muscle, or
I'd lose it if I can cut it off, but it's like I look at a weight, I blow up. If I go and run, my legs get bigger. It's like I really don't. It's not like it's fat. I come in and I'm at 5% body fat. I'm just a thick guy, so if I can figure out a way to lose muscle, it's like, how do you do that?
I had to restructure my body to make 85 because I'm not big enough.
You're both like tweeners in your weight class.
Yeah, like between me and like 205, there's 85 and 205, it's 20 pounds.
Yeah.
And at my heaviest, I might have been like, this is my heaviest, meaning not training at all. I'm like 215, but if I'm training, I'm usually around 200 to 205.
Yeah.
But for me,
which is perfect for 85.
It's good, except when you're 5% body fat at 205 to go down there. And I've had like liver problems with my liver and kidneys after fights where I'm twitching for months and like palpitations. So I got injured in like 3 fights ago. I got injured, and I was like, I just need to fix my body. And so basically what I did, I realized I can't do the Airdyne at all for cardio because my legs and quads and glutes get huge.
I do that a lot, actually. I think it's great cardio.
It's great cardio, but it packs on muscles real fast. So I basically just run now for cardio. And
distance runs, though. Right?
Yeah, I distance run, which is like weird, but I mainly just distance run.
You're a different body type than me and Anthony as well. Me and him are a little bit more muscular, explosive. You're like long, lanky plotter.
Well, my what's it called? My walk around weight. I walk around between like 195 and 200, and I made my glutes and my quads. I've lost like 6 pounds of muscle there, and it sucks for the power standpoint. Like pushing guys up against the fence, I've lost some of that.
You're also less attractive now.
You can't do any twerking competitions.
My butt doesn't look as big.
You're not the kind of guy I want to rape anymore.
If I seen you in the sauna, I'd just look past you.
Yeah, I wouldn't jerk off. I wouldn't jerk off at all in front of you.
No glutes.
You would have walked in.
Not work out.
Fucking Gumby, let me put my dick away.
He would have walked into the sauna. He would have been like, this is a waste.
I'm gonna call you Eric Knott. But
I got that flat butt now.
I do the Aerodyne bike. I do a lot of like the row machine because I don't run. Like I don't want to.
You don't like running, or
give me a ball. I'm simple minded. Like I'll play football. I'll play soccer. I'll play tennis. But you want me to just run? You better put the ice cream man over there or something. Like I'm not just gonna run. I'd much rather ride. Like I ride mountain bikes a lot, so I like to do that. I'd rather trail run. Like if you said, "Oh, we're gonna go on a trail run," that's a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
I'm
Can't
more
do
like
that all year though.
No,
not in New York anyway.
Then you risk like twisting an ankle or something like that too. So,
hey, speaking of that, I just bought a hybrid bike actually.
We'll get rid of it and get a mountain bike. Don't be a pussy.
Well, I got. That's where I fucked that thing up. Well, no, it's you can use it on trails too.
Yeah.
So if you got any fucking trail suggestions thrown my way because I'm trying to figure
They
some shit
are
out.
all over. If you just go online, you go on, it's like LongIslandMountainBiking.com or .org. It's a .org one. And it's climbonline.org. That's what it is.
Writing that down.
And there's one right at Town Hall. Glacier Ridge is probably the best one on the island as far as like you speed. You're gonna have good turns. You're gonna have uphills, good downhills. It's really cool. Then there's a lot of the other stuff is flat, which to me is boring. You know, you have Rocky Point, which is actually one of the longer trails, Rocky Point, but you can only ride a certain time, and you're supposed to have a license when you ride there.
License to ride a bike?
Well, it's just a way for them. I think it's free, but they have to close it down too because they do a lot of hunting in there. So there's a certain time, like when you're supposed to go, when you're not supposed to go. But then if you kind of go out, west and you go to Cunningham, it's only an 8-mile park trail, but it is awesome.
Where's
out
that?
there. It's Queens.
Queens? Okay.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of good ones. Anytime
There's
you have
one by my
go
job,
ride.
the Massapequa Preserve. There's like a whole
It's
bunch
not.
around
It's
there.
not necessarily the same. The Massapequa Preserve is more of like a trail that you can ride or you can walk or bring a dog or something. But like these trails are single track, intermediate, like blue trails and black trail, like real
full
trails.
mountain
And they're so the Climb Online organization. If you go and become a member, they go out, they do rides together, and then they go and they like keep the track up. They'll go and they'll make new track, they'll groom it, whatever they, so it's legit stuff, and it's actually pretty cool, and it's all free too.
Alright.
So I would definitely check that out. And anytime you want to go, I spend a lot of money on my bike and I don't use it enough.
Fair enough.
Bought my wife a bike too. She goes too. She got a 29er Diamondback Outlook, and I have a giant stance, 27.5-inch.
My friend just got a stance bike. I didn't know it was a mountain bike. I thought it was actually a road bike that he got, but
Well, I think it might be. I think the stances are balanced.
okay. The one I got is like a hybrid. I wanted a road bike also because I was going to use it to like ride to the gym and stuff like that, and I figured a road bike would probably be better, but this is like a hybrid, so it is built for like
For both,
off-road trails. I haven't taken it on any trails yet though, so I've only been doing stuff on the actual road.
The biggest differences with the bikes is like forks. Then you're gonna come into hubs, and then you'll come into like the crank. Then like your frame is gonna be a little bit different. Like I have dual suspension, so I have 2 shocks on it.
Right.
But I mean, it's really all the same. Like I take my BMX bike in there too. I have a BMX bike that I ride, a little 20-inch that I'll blaze through the trail.
I was nervous to just go in the trail and like maybe fuck the bike up, but it seems to hold up pretty well so far in some of the shit that I've done on the road. So
I mean, what'd you pay for it? Roughly, you're gonna be
$200. I didn't want to go overboard because the first bike I got. I wanted to make sure it was a good enough bike.
I did the same thing.
That
I bought a fucking mongoose from Walmart. Going, hey, I don't want to go overboard.
Because I want to make sure I liked it. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to buy a fucking $1,000 bike and then I'm like, this really isn't for me.
It gets. I think because of like your nature that you fight and you're competitive and like you're. I think a lot of us are adrenaline seekers, basically, who do that. So it's like anytime I get close to getting choked out or my arm's getting broken or something, it's like you get that shot and I'm like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah.
But mountain biking is a lot like that, like blazing through the trail at 20 miles an hour with trees that aren't gonna move when you hit them, and I've hit a few, and it's definitely a good rush when you get in there. So I think you would actually really enjoy
I'm
it.
going to have to try it out then.
Yeah.
Because I'm for sure an adrenaline junkie. Everything I do is like on that level, bungee jumping, skydiving, and all that shit.
I don't know if I'll ever jump out of a perfectly good plane.
I'm going to be honest with you. Skydiving was awesome, but rock climbing was way more intense to me.
I want to go rock climbing.
Rock climbing is awesome, and it was way more intense to me than
Now, are
jumping
you
out of a
going
plane.
like free rock climbing?
Fuck no. You're on a rope, but still. It doesn't take away any of the fear. There's no fucking way you'd get me on a mountain without a rope.
No, fuck
That's
that.
fucking crazy.
Well,
you have to be like
obviously,
next level expert for
You
that
wouldn't
shit.
do it if you're not like really good at it. But they have this. They have a place. I think it's in Brooklyn that you can go and like kind of do it. And there's one out.
No, I was on a
out
mountain,
here.
not in a gym.
Fuck that.
Yeah, no, I wasn't on a rock climbing wall. I went upstate to the Gunks, and
How high was the mountain?
I don't know. There's all like so each part of the mountain has a different path, and they're rated in difficulty.
Yeah.
So like I don't even remember what the ratings are. It's like a 1A through 9, and like it's weird. I don't even know what it is. But a guy I trained with is Spiro. He was a big rock climber back in the day, so we went. It was fucking awesome. And the first one I did was easy. It wasn't too high, low difficulty. The next one we went on a day in September that was beautiful, so the place was fucking packed. We couldn't get on any like the beginner ones, so we ended up on like a higher level intermediate one, my second one. It was fucking insane. Yeah. And I got stuck on the mountain for like 20 minutes, bro. I could not figure out how to get past this one part. And my guide was like, I'm going to have to come rescue you because like you've been on the mountain for way too long. You're going to be exhausted. You're not going to be able to finish. I was like, fuck that. I can finish. I fell. So I fell a good 10 feet, and the rope kicks in.
Yeah.
After I fell, I climbed the mountain like that. It's like that fear went away. I was like, all right, this is all that's going to happen. But prior to that, I was freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
And dude, I got to the top, and the rush was out of this world because this is like, all right, I fucking did it. I didn't die. I fell, and then like the mountain didn't break me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Even my guide was like, that was impressive. He's like, you spent more time there than anybody I've seen. Most times when that happens, they can't finish it. He's like, I have to come get them. He's like, you finished. He's like, you've got a good mental.
So that MMA resilience.
Yeah.
What's funny? This is literally what I went through in my head. It definitely helped. I told the guys that. I said this because this is what went through my head. I'm like, I realized this fucking rock is completely indifferent. This is not a guy that I can maybe wear down and he'll make it easier for me. I was like, this rock doesn't give a fuck whether I'm here, dead or alive.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just me. There's no give in the rock. Like, I have to just figure this out. And I finally did. And it was the best feeling in the world. Because you get to the top and you're like, I fucking did it. It didn't break me. And then you're on the top of a mountain upstate in fall. And you have the sickest view ever. You're looking over like this lake and the trees. It's fucking all the beautiful colors. And it was like a beautiful day with like the perfect breeze. It was the fucking best thing ever. Like, I would have started jerking off like that.
So basically, it looked like me up on the top of the.
Yeah, you were in the sauna. Yeah, I got a glimpse of you in the clouds. But dude, it's a sick feeling, but it's very intense. Like the whole time, you're engaged the whole time. Probably much like mountain bike. You have to be there. You have to be present the whole time.
Otherwise,
the intensity level is always there. Whereas like with skydiving, prior to you jump, it's then you jump, and it's this holy shit. Oh my god, I'm doing this. This is insane, and you're going faster than you've ever gone in your life that you can't even register how fast you're going. And then you're just like wow, I'm actually doing this. And then the chute goes, and it's relief, and then it's just calm. You're like, holy fuck, I just did that, and you're floating through the air, and it's cool, but it doesn't last as long. To me, you mountain climb. We mountain climbed all day, so we did four different trails or whatever, and the whole time it's fucking intense in every moment. I think that was harder than skydiving.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'll be connected to something. With the skydiving, I'm not connected.
No, you're connected to another guy. Well, you might get raped.
We all know how I don't want to be connected to other males. I'm like, you better ask me my name.
You're connected to him. Oh no, they're very nice. They you get the plane ride
afterwards when you get down.
They suit you up very delicately and gently. Then you're in the plane and they're literally
whispering
behind you, and they're like over there is Orient Point, and this town got established.
This is the point of my dick.
Yeah, the guy I jumped with, he was like from New Zealand. I'm like, you know more about Long Island than I do, bro. I've lived here my whole life. And they fucking, I don't know if they all do this, but they fucking hornswoggle you because I get up there and he's like, all right, we're going to go, you're going to grab the thing, we're going to make the signal with our, we're going to count 3 rocks, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to go on 3. I'm like, okay, do the signal, hands up, 1, they just shove you right out. I'm like, you motherfucker. They don't wait for you to get
ready.
Yeah, there's no cold feet because you'll fucking fuck their day up. Like you could fuck them up if you do it. So they just push your ass out. Actually, it's pretty funny. We went to the one out in Calverton, Skydive Long Island.
Yeah.
So when you go, there's obviously they're going multiple people, whatever. So the one lands right before us. There's like a whole plane full that lands, and this girl and her mom come off just fucking hysterically crying. What the fuck? And like there was a little commotion when they first jumped. I guess the guys who are seasoned vets, they knew something was wrong from the way they jumped and deployed. So this girl jumped with the guy. Their first chute didn't open, so he had to cut it away and deploy the emergency. And she was freaking the fuck out with it, like just hysterical crying. Her mom was flipping the fuck out, and the guy just was like whatever, and goes right up, grabs the other chute, comes over to my buddy Dave Sorensen.
Yeah.
Comes over to Sorensen, he's like, statistically, you're the safest guy here because there's no way that's gonna happen twice. Let's roll. What the fuck?
And me and my buddy Ben, we were in Hawaii, and we were like, listen, we're only gonna come to Hawaii once. Let's skydive while we're here because we're only gonna do that once. So we book everything. Dude, 3 days prior to the jump, I got so scared. I was like, I can't fucking do this. I was like, just charge the card, whatever you want to charge it. I'm not coming.
Oh man,
Yeah.
dude, you should do it. I think you'd love it, man. It's fucking.
Probably afterwards I would love it, but I don't know.
Getting up to that point.
I would have to like go by myself, not tell anybody that I was gonna do it, and just just make the appointment, go and tandem jump by myself.
It's so
Just be
hard
like,
for me to
"Alright,
reconcile that because you can go out there in front of a huge crowd, fight, like
I have control over the fight. I
to a certain
train.
degree, yeah.
I train, and I know what I'm bringing to the table. Like somebody else is packing my chute. It may
Is
not.
that, is that a new term for rape?
Somebody else is
Like
packing
getting
me.
your chute packed.
Like the plane could go down and land on fucking Sunrise like that one did yesterday.
Yeah, that was I live right there. That was like right by
Yeah,
my
I
house.
didn't hear about this. No, what happened?
Dude, it's all over it was all over the news. There was a plane. It was like Exit 57. Just lands in between cars, like
yep.
legit
On
in between
Sunrise.
cars,
Get
and
the
then
fuck outta
and then
here.
goes under the underpass, and right off horse block, a cop comes and fucking pulls him over. Like it's just get over.
Wait, where did it come out of? MacArthur?
No, there's a private airport
Kabruski
over
or whatever?
Yeah.
There's a,
Well,
there's
that's
a couple.
further.
There's
No,
a,
that's way further.
was it the one in Bayport? Did it come out of Bayport? That private airport?
I'm not sure. I just know that it was a
it
much smaller
one
plane. I
on
think it was like a 2 or 4 seater plane.
Yeah, it was like a 4-seater or something.
How the
like
fuck
that.
did I not hear about that? I'm way out of the
We saw the helicopters from outside my house. I'm like, oh, some shit must have happened.
Yeah.
I was sort of by like the Yaphank jail, so we were wondering if somebody
Holy
escaped.
shit.
Literally, just boom, and then goes under the underpass like if everything fits.
Yeah,
He got so lucky too.
Didn't even chip the paint.
Nope. He's like, I'm putting this bridge down.
That's fucking wild.
It's a good place to land.
And then there's a cop coming right off.
I mean, the good thing about
got you
skydiving
being
is
a
if the plane
plane
goes
at
down, you're
55.
okay.
Well, yeah, we could jump out and be like, get rid of this. At that point, I'd be like, let's go.
Yeah.
Even more impressive is the guy filming it, who just he doesn't
Yeah.
stop the car or anything. He's just like, well, may as well film this plane.
Yeah,
turning
film
in front of
everything.
me. Yeah, it's amazing. And then just keeps going.
You know
like
what's
nothing
funny
happened.
though? Like probably Suffolk PD will be like going and be like, all right, well we need to find out who this guy is. They'll go and look up his registration and send him a ticket in the mail for using his cell phone while driving.
I'll tell you what, though. How about this? I'll make you a deal. We won't tell anybody about it. We'll just do it, though. I'll go with you. I'll skydive with you.
Oh, I want to come too then.
We'll go, and then I'll go mountain bike with you.
Yeah, but mountain bike is clearly not as
Right, I know, but I still
intense as
haven't done it. I'm just saying, like, let's do it, bro. I haven't skydived in a while. I'd like to go again. We should do it. We won't tell anybody shit, and if it doesn't happen, I'll sign a NDA. I won't say that we went and you didn't do anything. We'll keep it all hush hush.
Keep it hush hush, and then the pictures are, oh, Anthony fucking crying.
I would never do that to you.
I swear I'm not going.
No,
I'd rather be with the black guy right now.
I want to go back to Crunch Fitness.
All right, we're almost at the 2 hour mark.
Like an hour and 40.
Okay, a couple more minutes then. Well, I don't know. I feel like I need to sell you on skydiving.
I don't know if you're gonna be able to. I think your best bet is like, we're going to some fight. You want to come with us? We're taking a private jet. And they'd be like,
I gotta wear this special suit.
put the jet down now. All right, everybody out the back. And I'm like, fuck, I guess we gotta go.
You would never believe me anyway. Yeah, you're in a private jet? Okay, stupid.
Podcast is doing great, bro.
Doing awesome.
We got that Shiwi product sponsorship. We got that Shiwi money now. We got private jets.
Shiwi's pissing singles on me. Make it rain. Yeah, imagine. That would be fucking awesome.
I would say yes. I'd take that.
100%.
100%. I'd sell out for almost anything at this point now.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I was like, I'm going to sell
Yeah,
out.
but the thing is, would you sell out and would you stay here?
Would stay in the studio? You
No, like stay in New York, or would you sell out and be like, I'm going to Cali or wherever?
I don't know. Maybe. I just know I'd sell out. That's all I know.
Given the
I'd sell out
opportunity.
for sure.
I mean, if you want to make quick cash, I know a couple of guys and
That's not selling. That's not the type of selling I'm doing.
They probably got some good money because that was in the expensive part of town. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what'd you get offered for a blowjob?
Well, it was $200 when I was 16, and I had no experience. and I wasn't doing the sucking; he was sucking me. So
That doesn't make you gay. You're just a guy getting his dick sucked.
They say
the guy who sucks the dick is a cocksucker for life.
the guys doing porn are only making like 500 to 1,000, so I figured 200 wasn't a bad start. Entry level position.
Amateur level.
Yeah.
Amateur level.
It's not bad. It's a good. At least you got a good outlet.
At least you get paid as an amateur.
Yeah.
That might get you sanctioned in New Jersey.
We see you had a couple of tussles here. All right, you're in.
I fought for my life. On
Yes.
some occasions. It's got to count for something.
You gotta love those, like the outsiders who think that they can tell you what you can and you can't do because they think they know better.
Why
Like
doesn't
the
he just get up?
commissions. You know, not that the athletic commissioner for New York State is bad or anything, but I'm pretty sure she doesn't have any fights.
Pretty sure
Yeah.
most of the people making those rules and calls don't have any fights.
Well, I feel like a lot of times that they're setting themselves up to make their lives as easy as possible. And if we tell the fighters there's only one, you can only step on the scale once. Then they're going to be serious and they're going to have to be on at the proper weight because they don't want
I'm trying to lose 40 pounds. That's serious.
Yeah. Well, they don't realize like all the other variables. Like they don't realize like some of these guys might be fighting in a weight class that they don't normally fight in, or some of
Yeah.
these guys might be taking a fight short notice, and this isn't a fight that they've known about for 2 months or whatever. And for everybody, it's more cut and dry in their minds than it
Yeah.
really is for everybody else. Like, I mean, New Jersey's been giving people problems about getting licensed to fight. We had a guy at the gym I train. I'm not even going to say his name because God forbid they hear me bring
Yeah.
up anybody's name in this. I'll never get licensed. He'll get his license revoked.
Yeah.
But he went for basically almost 2 years without being able to get licensed in New Jersey. And then finally, all of a sudden, one of the cards in New Jersey needed somebody to take a fight like last minute, and then all of a sudden somebody that was like 100% bad, will never fight, was told he would never fight here by the people in charge,
Yeah.
was all of a sudden like on a card, like everything was honky-dory within
Yeah.
like 10 days and like ready to rock and roll.
I went pro in 2015. I tried to go in 2014, but that's when I was having all the issues. Now in 2014, I had fought 3 times. One was at the Garden that they didn't count that fight, you know, and it 4,000 people seen it. You know, I fought another guy who was very experienced. WK was running the show there. They didn't count that fight. I had taken a loss to the kid Alex, which was a great fight. That was another, you know, that fight was in Washington, D.C., and that was another big fight. And it's like, you're not, you know, now it's been 2 years and they're still giving me crap about getting licensed.
It's political. I mean, at this point, it's
bullshit.
it's political at this point because they know that eventually they're going to lose out from all of the revenue from every New York fighter, because as soon as they reduce those insurance requirements,
Yeah.
none of us will ever have to go to New Jersey to ever fight again.
You know what though? If you look at some of these other fighters in other countries, like France and Italy and the glory card themselves those guys that they put, some of them have over 100 fights, and they have to go to other countries, not just other states, other countries to get fights. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to kind of travel around and get the experience or whatever. But I do think that the fight scene here is a little backwards. Like that, nobody wants to travel, nobody wants to pay their dues. Everybody wants a title. You know how many titles I've seen? Like, granted, I have two kickboxing amateur titles that I'm undefeated in kickboxing, but I don't think I earned them. Like I was just given title shots and I won titles, and it's just like that's not how it's supposed to go anymore. Like, win a couple fights, make a name for yourself. And now it's just like, oh well, so and so's giving up this title. We're just gonna take these two guys, and you're getting offered the title. What?
In my last fight, I was fighting a guy that was on a 4-fight win streak. Supposed to be fighting a guy that was on a 4-fight win streak. So somebody, like, I guess pulled his record up, like maybe like a week before the fight, and they're like, yo, your guy's coming off a loss. And I'm like, I don't know, I looked him up like a month and a half ago, and he wasn't coming off a loss. Sure enough, like 32 days before our fight was scheduled, in between the last time I looked him up and this time, the guy fought again and lost.
Yeah.
And like you start like thinking, you're like, oh man, this is like, and the people that just take
Amateurs
fights. Yep, it's amateurs fighting in every card that there is.
I think that they should fight more often. You see a lot of guys with like 3 fights, they go 3-0, and then they're like, all right, I'm ready to go pro, and it's like, like I had 14 fights, and to be completely honest, I probably could have used a couple more fights, but I'm a little older. I'm 31 now, so it's like I don't really have the time that other people have the time. And with the amateur, like you guys are saying, you never know who you're fighting. Somebody's going to get pulled out. Somebody's going to come in 10 pounds over. I don't know.
Or you have no fight at all, and then that was what you scheduled, and now there's no event for 3 months.
Yeah, which I think that got a little better with a couple of promotions that have opened up. So now they're a little bit more,
reliable.
Where they're coming through, and you're getting more fights. You get like 5 fights from one promotion, and then they're kind of trying to work with the other promotions to kind of spread the money around a little bit.
You see in which gyms the guys are reliable from. Like, there's certain gyms where I'm like, I'm not fighting a guy from that gym.
No,
because they're going to pull out.
Yeah, because there's like a fucking 30% chance this fight is going to happen. I'm not training for 12
I've
weeks.
prepared for more fights than I've had.
Yeah.
Frustrated. 2 times were mine where I got injured, but 5 were other people pulling out, or one of the events got canceled. Like I've had.
I think an event getting canceled is like grounds for the fight community to just be like, we're not going to be on that show ever. Like there should be no reason that your entire event gets canceled. But injuries is completely different. I mean, it happens. We're in a contact sport.
It happens. It's part of the game. I've been on. Listen, I've gotten injured twice where I had to back out of fights, and there's just nothing you can do about it. Like I was preparing to fight. I was actually supposed to fight James Gonzalez.
Okay.
And I tore my labrum 10 days before the fight. Like, what are you gonna do? That happens.
And you don't want to go into a fight with James Gonzalez with any injury on on his shoulder or anything. He's a stud. That kid is a stud. I have quite a few pounds on him, and we were training. We had done probably about 30 rounds, and I was like, all right. I didn't go to the ground with him any of those rounds, but the last 3 rounds, I was like, I know he's tired. Maybe I'll go to the ground with him now, and I'll put my weight on him and see what I can do. He wound up subbing me like 5 times.
He's good.
He's really, really good. I was really pissed. I was like, damn it!
I'm pissed that I never got to fight him. Not just because I know he's good.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have tested myself.
He's
actually really good.
His jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. His striking, I mean, he even knows it, and he works on his striking, daily. But his jiu-jitsu is phenomenal.
Yeah, he's really.
I mean, Matt's our black belt, so
right.
And they got crazy black. Yeah, I think he's got like 42 black belts.
Is he? He's got that many now?
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. But yeah, it's just injuries happen. It just is what it is. I had a freak one too. I guess it was about 1.5 years ago. fucking the night before the weigh-ins, man. I was teaching my class, not even training, teaching. I was showing the fucking move. I was showing something out of half guard and underhook. You know, pop on and you come around and take their back or whatever. And the kid I was demonstrating on, as I got behind him, just for whatever reason, turned and spazzed out and elbowed me in my eye. I got 3 stitches in my eye. The night before weigh-ins, and they wouldn't let me.
That's a freak. I would have been so mad.
I was fucking furious.
I would have been so mad. You know what's funny about the injury thing is, like, in the contract that they gave me for Bellator, they told me that I wasn't allowed to box or wrestle outside of normal training. And I thought to myself, like, why? Because you could get hurt? Like, duh! Box or wrestle. So I had a tournament set up for in Miami to do the Miami Open, and everything was all paid for. We wound up going to Miami. I just took a 4-day little vacation, but I couldn't do that. I couldn't do the adult worlds. I couldn't do anything. I wasn't even contractually. I wasn't even supposed to ride my motorcycle. No scooters, no motorcycles, no nothing. It's like, all right, I'm gonna live in a bubble for the next 10 weeks.
Except for the gym when those injuries happen.
Yeah.
Shit. What are you gonna do? I mean, it just is what it is. It's just.
It's part of being like a professional athlete.
I was laughing about this the other day, actually, with Keith. We were talking about this. You know, he was saying how, every now and then he'll spar or whatever, and he might get a black eye, and people are like, "What happened? Who hit you?" And he's like, "What the fuck do you think I do?"
Yeah, every single day.
You know, like. And Andre, because Andre's eyes are all bloodshot, or whatever. And people kept asking, like, "What happened? What happened?" He's like, "You know what I do, right? Like, you know what I do for a living? Like, I'm a fucking goddamn fighter. Like, this is part of the game. Like, you don't."
To be honest, though, I wouldn't think that Andre is as dominant and good professional as he is by just looking at him in the street. He is the most like cool, calm, collected
super
guy,
laid back guy
like,
ever.
Hey, what's up, dude? Every time I see him, he's very cool. I would never think that he's a world class, undefeated professional. Which I don't understand how he's not in the UFC right now. I really they're dropping the ball huge. If you're gonna say that you have the best talent in the world, and you have a guy who's had 3 different world titles,
every organization he's ever fought in, he's won a title on.
So it's like he should, without a doubt, be in there. I mean, in the early stages, because he's was such a hardcore wrestler, he would do what he was good at. I get it. Dana, you don't think he's flashy. His last few fights have been really good fights.
Dude, his last victory against Lance Palmer
was great.
And
he looked phenomenal.
Murked that dude on the feet.
Yeah.
His
striking is looking really good. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I was watching him spar that day. He's fucking, I guess, ridiculous.
Yeah, well, the last time I had sparred him, which was actually a couple years ago, he hit like a truck too. I was like, fuck.
I sparred with him. When did we spar that time?
Gregor does too, man.
I guess it was in like April, and he beat me like I stole something from him.
Yeah. they got some tough dudes there.
You know what the thing is about Andre too, that
was that the day I was there and that kid went through the ropes?
Yeah,
I felt bad for that kid.
He got it worse than I did, and Andre beat me like I stole something. He beat this other kid like he didn't like him. It was pretty I felt bad. He knocked him to the ropes and shit.
He punched him. When he was hanging in the ropes. He punched him
he kept punching
too. And I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
I took it easy on him last round. He punched him in the face when he's stuck in the ropes.
You know, you've been to Belmore. You know the boxing ring. The wall that's behind it, you could go through the ropes but still be on the wall. He was just still hitting him.
He was stuck in between the ropes and the wall.
And it's so contradictory to Andre outside that. He's like the nicest, laid back, cool guy.
Yeah.
But in there, he's just like, well, fuck it, this is what we're doing.
I think you need to have that switch though, and you need to kind of be robotic and not really think about, oh yeah, I'm a nice guy and I don't want to hurt this person. Like it's in the end, it's techniques that we're doing that ultimately hurt people.
It's also what we signed up for. I actually had this conversation too recently in the gym doing jiu-jitsu. Guys were talking about oh, I like this stuff, but I don't want to get hurt. It's like, well, then maybe you don't belong here.
This isn't knitting class.
Yeah, go play tennis then, dude.
Yeah.
This is not.
You're still gonna get hurt playing tennis. You're gonna get tennis elbow.
Yeah,
or maybe jock itch. Maybe.
Is Jokic an injury?
Like when people say that, like, oh, I don't really want to get hurt. I'm just like, the only reason I'm here is for violence.
Yes.
That's like the only reason that I started this is to do the violence and not go to the prison.
Well, I try to backdoor it and tell them like, oh yeah, I don't want to get hurt either. This is just therapy for me. And they're like, oh well, what do you need therapy for? It's because I want to hurt people.
Yeah, because hurting people
every day.
I don't want to get hurt, so I'm going to hurt you first.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to.
So nobody dies in the LIE traffic.
Yeah. So when there's traffic because a plane landed on Sunrise, I don't get out and kill you.
Which I think is very, very funny. Like all these tough guys that are on the road. Oh, it's hilarious.
Let me tell you a story. This is probably the most bizarre thing that's ever happened. This is a road rage incident.
Road rage.
So I had a particularly shitty day at work. So I work for a school, and it was like during the winter break. And it was pouring. I had a shit day. So I'm driving home. I'm a big coffee guy. But you know what? I'm going to stop and get coffee.
You can tell by your mug and your thumb.
Yeah. Get into it. So I go down to Roast and Paso. I grab a cup of coffee. I come out, and I don't know if you're familiar with like North Ocean down there. When you come out from behind where like Roast and Parabella is, if you make that right into North Ocean right there,
yeah.
You know it's a real shitty setup. They have the light and then the stop sign, right?
Yeah.
So I'm making that right onto the stop sign, and there's like one of those big long FedEx vans. So it's at the stop sign, but the end of the truck is still like back by the light.
Yeah.
So I'm behind another car. The FedEx goes, and this guy, where there's plenty of space where you would still have to pull up to the stop sign to stop, and then go. He just fucking goes.
He didn't want to wait.
No. So I'm like, all right, behind this guy, and I see this, and I'm like, this is weird. So I go through the stop sign, come up, and there's a light before you hit North Ocean and Sunrise. We're at the light. He's like herky-jerking it and stopping and being weird. What the fuck? We get to the light turns green, and I see his reverse lights come on. I'm like, what the fuck? So he like backs up a half of like an inch and then goes. So I'm assuming he threw it into park at the light.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. So then as you come up, it splits to two lanes now. So he goes left, I immediately go right around him.
Yeah.
I go right around him, I get to the light, light's red, I stop the light, and I see this guy flying up my ass. And I'm like looking in my rear view, and I see him, he comes up and taps, not super hard, but hits my car. I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
So I throw it in park, and I open up the door, and it's fucking pouring. I open up the door, and I'm not all the way out of the car. I look out, and I'm like, hey man, what the hell? And I hear him go, so what? And I'm like, you just fucking hit my car, dude.
Yeah.
So now I get out. And I'm like, you just hit my car. He goes, so what? You cut me off. I was like, are you fucking serious? Like, so, first of all, I didn't cut you off, and even if I did, you don't hit my car, you fucking asshole. So now I'm, like, getting fired up. I'm like, you hit my car. And he's like, so what? So what? So what? So I get pissed off, and I approach the car briskly. And I get there, and I'm like, you just hit my car, man. What's the deal? And he's like, you cut me off. And he says again, I'm like, I didn't fucking cut you off. I'm like, doesn't matter. I'm like, you don't have no right to hit my car. I'm like, this is how you drive? I'm like, you're going to get fucking shot by somebody. Like,
yeah.
And he's like, so what? So now I'm like, get the fuck out of your car.
Yeah.
He tenses up. This guy looked like Milton Adams from Office Space, like the stapler guy. Like, you see my stapler? That guy. So this guy's like pathetic, and I realize this as I see his reaction. I'm like, I can't
fuck you up.
Yeah. Dude, he reaches over into his passenger seat and grabs a hot dog. Like his actual dog, it's a hot dog, grabs it, holds it with two hands, like pulls it to his chest, and turns away from me and starts going, I'm sorry. And I was like, what the fuck?
You were about to beat up a retard.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Yeah. That's what I said. You're beating up people.
I didn't beat anybody up. Yeah. I reeled it in, and I was like, dude, learn how to drive, and I walk away, right? I go to get back in my car.
You're lucky that I work at a school.
So he starts honking now. As I'm back to my door.
He definitely clearly
He's
had
laying on the horn,
Yeah.
and staring at me. I turn around, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And he goes, sticks his hand out the window, goes, so what? So what?
He probably had Tourette's.
Yeah. So I walk back over and I just start kicking his car.
So now you're harassing the poor.
Yeah. The police are going to come and there's going to be this mentally challenge.
Dude, I'm kicking his car and the light's green. There's just cars going around me. Like, everyone's getting pissed off.
There's no World Star about this? There's no video? I mean, there has to be.
I kicked the car and I'm like,
so what? Motherfucker, get the
the guy hit, dude. So what? Put yourself in my position. Like, I knew I couldn't beat him up. I had to do something. So I just kicked his car a bunch of
Should've just
times.
stole his dog.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you did say. I didn't want to hurt a dog.
You're not hurting it.
Just let it go.
You should have just took it and be like, you're not mentally stable enough for this wiener dog.
Shut up.
Which is a great thing to yell.
I was over,
And he would have been like, so what?
yeah. I was overcoming the moment, but like I was just beside myself. I'm like you know, like I was like, this guy like was planning this. Like he wanted to do this. Like you don't do something.
I don't
like
know.
this.
He seems like he was very off of his
Mentally
rocker.
unstable.
Yeah, but like he hit my car out of anger at me. Like
Yeah,
He was
that's
angry
what
with
that's
me.
what people
He's angry
who,
that I went
like,
around him.
aren't all there.
Autistic
they
people
do,
have rage sometimes. They don't
do
know what
crazy
they're doing.
things.
I told you it was a crazy story.
One time I got into a argument with Raquel. I punched my windshield, broke my windshield, blamed her. You know, like when you're not all there upstairs, you do some crazy stuff.
I'm starting to wonder about this whole sauna incident. You're blaming the other guy. What did you do? Were you wearing a skirt? And you were asking for it, right?
All right,
Was your towel pink? And
my towel was not
did you
pink.
have Albaline with you?
I did have. But it
Thought you were
wasn't.
greasing up.
It wasn't in the steam room with
So
us.
it looked like you brought lube with you.
I did lube up prior to getting there.
Albaline, for the uninitiated, is like a makeup remover that opens up your pores. You
But
use it
I
to
had
cut
the
weight.
I had the hardcore stuff. Shout out to Sweet Sweat. I had Sweet Sweat. All right, but yeah. So I did have that, but I don't know how you guys feel.
He might have mistaken that for
that and the
sign.
fact that I wasn't wearing any underwear. He probably mistaked that. But I'm telling you, like I said, all
Wait,
the
I wasn't wearing
signs-
underwear when I was driving that day, so maybe that's.
It could be a thing. Could be a thing. You know.
Let's wrap this thing up. What do we have? We're over 2 hours.
We're hitting 2 hours right now.
Anthony, plug your social media. Tell everybody ways to get in touch with you. Follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, if
Twitter.
you guys want to get in touch with me, I'm on Facebook, Anthony Giacchina. I'm on Snapchat, Giacchina JR. I'm on Instagram, Giacchina MMA. I don't have Twitter because I post on Facebook, and if I just wanted to put a post out and tag somebody, I'm going to do it on Facebook. So don't look for me on Twitter. But yeah, so if you guys want to get in touch with me,